Okay, so last week we had Succubus, which was sort of broke the enchantment on the town. Salazar went to the Atok. He did the Fremen Worm Rider thing. And I guess now he's going to become the God Messiah. And then afterwards, afterwards you just went back to the town and rested up, I guess. Didn't really do much else.
What
I
is
tried
this?
to
Then all of a
indoctrinate a priest
sudden,
and failed. No thinking success.
Sorry, Al?
I tried to indoctrinate a new priest to the town, thought I was successful, even though I was completely not.
Yes, you're like slapping him on the back saying, "Good man, I'm sure you've done a great job." And inside his head, he's like, "I'm getting out of this town the second these people leave. I'm never coming back here."
Completely forgetting to mention the importance of their faith and euphoria has to be maintained to maintain the barrier for their safety.
Yeah, I'm going to burn that temple down. Were you saying
that
that?
town.
I was just saying, is this Dune all of a sudden?
That section definitely was kind of Dunish. It just seemed fitting because you were looking for the giant worm anyway. And of course we had Duradam, who Ricardo jumped in, and despite everybody else calling him an abomination and such, he was like, "No, no, no, this man is capable of love."
Even if not in the way that they were all thinking.
It was quite sweet though. Yes, so I mean, you got the children back, everything worked out, and now you are free to progress on your journey towards Khin Uldar. So I believe there was no Rise didn't detect any lingering traces of the succubi. Just that same kind of sense that Drakan gives off. And the town maintained a purified blessing of euphoria to try and keep the corruption at bay that kind of stretched around the rest of the lands here.
Yeah, I felt her in the village until Euphoria's blessing started to work out. So that's when I lost the trace of Succubus.
Yeah, so she's totally gone. But yeah, so he's dressed up for the night after celebrating and such. Imagine even Ricardo's stamina's been tested at this point, which is why he's feeling so rough today. So we just want to go from here. I mean, you know the general direction you need to go in, which is northeast.
Did we follow the tracks that I found before?
You could, yeah.
Maybe Atark have some information or tips if you're heading that way.
You could certainly approach the Atok and ask him, yeah.
Salazar, you seem like you have a good relationship with them.
I have no idea what they're saying.
Well, how hard it can be. I mean, you already got back the children and rode a great worm. You can certainly communicate and get some tips.
All right, I'll bring. Does anyone else want to go see the ATOC?
Are they along the way?
Best friends now.
No.
Well,
They're in the opposite direction, aren't they?
Well, I mean, I imagine they had kind of a joint celebration last night because they were celebrating the worm, which is a very rare occasion, and the villagers were celebrating, being free and having the children back, and trying to get over the hump of the fears and the shame they were all feeling. So I guess in the morning, the Atok, the villagers are just trying to get back to normal lives. The Atok are back at their nomadic camp. When you approach, they are packing up their tents and everything. They're ready for the next stage of their annual migration.
So, Rise, what do you want to try to ask them?
Well, it seems like they're leaving. Well, you can try asking them if they're maybe going the same way we are going, and if not, they are travelers. Maybe they know something that could be of use for us. If we are heading northeast.
All right, I'll approach one of the ATOC I was talking to before communicating with.
Sure. But this time you've kind of gathered that this person's name is Apina.
All right, he just starts gesturing wildly, like, Apina, where are you going?
Oh, so you're doing that thing American tourists do where they just talk slower and louder
Yes.
in the same language.
While just waving my arms around wildly.
Why don't you give me a clever roll? We'll see how well you convey your conversation.
Could you roll it for me? It's 0.
That's a fail. Unless you want to background it.
No, not at all.
Right, okay. So, yeah, you flail around, and despite your slow, drawn out, and increasingly loud in volume commands and expressions in English, they do not seem to understand what you're talking about. They point and indicate to you the direction they're going in, which looks as if it's kind of northwest, which would take them across the mountains. So they don't seem to be going in quite the same direction that you were planning going in. And of course, they're not able to give you any like detailed information about anything that might be helpful for the direction you're planning to go in. So it looks like if you're going to go northeast, you are pretty much on your own.
Would it help? I still
What's that?
have that map from Mayor's map in my adventuring gear. If I pull out the map in front of Apina and in Child's movement of arms and simple speech, try to explain that what would be the best course to take towards the destination, showing it fingers or sticks from the ground.
I mean, they don't use maps themselves. You know, they're following a route that their ancestors have taken for generations. I don't know if they really relate it to a map and the symbols that are on there and the language that's used. So I don't think that would really be helpful.
Yeah. Well, Rise is disappointed. Folds his map back into his backpack, and well, that's it.
Yeah. So yes, I mean they finished packing up their stuff that morning and head off. Excited sort of barks and yaps between them as they go. And you just watch them head off towards the plains, going sort of north. And then you just return to the village to pack your own goods and wares and prepare for the journey. Is there anyone in the village perhaps you want to speak to?
It could be a good idea. Ricardo, you think you might know somebody in the village, be sharing some useful information for us?
Not really.
I like he's
How long
just.
was that?
Sorry, go.
How long was the town cursed for?
Oh, weeks.
Um, No, I don't think I know anyway. I think Ricardo's too busy trying to counsel everyone through their trauma and at the same time, making sure the town will be okay when they leave. But being very oblivious, not actually doing a very good job of it.
Yeah, well, it seems we'll just go uh, as prepared as we are.
What
Well,
about-
anyways,
Sorry, there you go.
no, go ahead. I just want to say that I don't need any supplies or anything from the village, so I'm good to go.
Yeah, I mean there is a market in the village. If there's anything particular you just want to like buy or stock up on, but I mean I don't think you've really expended much so far anyway. And
Are willing to part with one. No, sorry.
I was just
Well,
going to
you
say, Drakan does have like goods to trade and barter, but unfortunately it's all goods that he's stolen from this village.
I'm not going to try and sell them the whole stuff. That might not end too well.
Yeah.
He's just walking around with a huge like Santa sack. People are like, what have you got in there?
What do you mean? It could be anyone's stuff.
Look, Jeff, don't sympathise with him.
Yeah, if they're willing to part with one to do them, I could use a new axe. Some sort of large weapon.
Sure, I mean they'll definitely have tools and weapons available.
Will they be willing to sell to do them, or are they?
Oh no, they'll totally sell with you. Ricardo has long since sort of convinced them. And because they are, I imagine a great many of them are planning on completely abandoning this whole Euphoria worship thing. They're not going to hold anything against you since you were part of the people that broke the enchantment on them. They're much more concerned with their own actions over the past few weeks rather than anything that you might have done.
I suppose that's too.
Do you have the shopping list there? Do you need a price?
Oh, I should be able to find it. I've only got 20 gold, but I think that should be enough for something. So I'll just...
Yeah, I don't think they're very expensive. Yeah, I mean, in terms of provisions, I mean, you have a hunter with you, so I'm assuming you can just hunt on the way anyway. It's not going to be much of a bother.
Yes, I assume it'd be a battle axe for Duradum, so 10 gold.
Yeah, perfect. Fine.
Let's do that.
I'm not sure we've ever really had to use money as such in this game.
We did in the very first time.
Yeah, a little bit.
Don't forget the boat ride. Everyone had to pay for that.
Oh yeah, I didn't use money for that either.
Yeah, I don't know if Duradam, because you came from the Dwarvish Mountains, if you remember anything about the path to get down here.
I don't know if it would be something which I could use. I think he wouldn't have an awareness of it, but I've got magnetoreception for Duradum.
Okay.
And my thought was that he, even if he didn't really get it, he could just kind of vaguely sense directions of mountains and stuff.
Right, so yeah, he's got an innate sense of direction. Okay, so I mean, if you came, obviously you've not came past this.
Minerals or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you've not came from this village before, but maybe as you go on, you might kind of recognize the direction or landmarks. So I don't know. Do you want to give me a clever roll, and we'll see how much, if you remember any landmarks you might have passed or something like that.
Well, not to go well. 6.
I take it you don't have a background. You could call on that.
I don't think so. Faith is an adopted, so not really.
Okay, great. Yeah, so you've got no idea what lies ahead in this big empty space on the map.
Duradum's just like, I feel like it was this way, but then he just leaves off in the wrong direction.
Yeah, you know the general direction, but you don't know landmarks or obstacles or anything that could be out there. Okay, I'm sure this will go well for you all. Yeah,
I'm totally fine.
okay, so I mean, you're on foot just now as well. Do you want to try and get some sort of transport to make it go quicker? I mean, I don't know how practical that is when you've got Duradam anyway.
I would like to request a horse from the town if they're willing to give one.
Could certainly try and requisition one from them.
Yeah, I guess even if it doesn't make us faster, it might make the traveling easier. Like for everyone other than Duradum.
I mean, he's done so much travelling anyway, he's probably used to it by this point. I'm not sure how tired you actually get anyway, being magic and stone. Sure, so yeah, I mean, there'll be like a stable master person you could probably speak to. Let's not think about what might have happened to the horses during the time of enchantment. So Ricardo, you've been talking to these people in the face of their savior. So do you want to perhaps like speak to the stable master and try to convince him to give you a horse or two?
Hello, my good friend. We would like to request some aid to our travels. A horse or two, perhaps. To travel north in the aid of the dwarves.
Yeah, so that's not a particularly old man. You know, he's probably in his 40s, 50s. He's got a couple of stable hands that are his sons or his nephews. And it's like, well, sir, I'd be more than happy to give you something to help you on your travels, considering all you've done for us. Lord knows you brought my family back to me. But of course, these horses are my livelihood, and I can't spare a great many of them.
A mere two should be fine. A carting horse and a riding horse would be most helpful.
I can certainly spare a carting horse, if that's used to you. And I do have an old cart you could take as well.
Oh, most magnificent. It will be more than it.
So he goes away and he comes back with this. I guess it passes for carting horse, although it looks a little old, it looks a little small. Its hair's all like tied up in braids and it's got a little hat on it. This is Brandy.
What a beautiful creature.
Yes, she's seen her years, but she's a good and trusty and most importantly a well-tempered beast. I'm sure
I'll go there and start stroking her braids.
and she starts licking your face, which is not normal behaviour for a horse.
Oh, you a sweetheart.
Oh, she
Yes,
likes you.
Brandy. Right.
Yes, I'll be happy to let her go into your hands, as long as you look after her.
Oh, she will be most taken care of.
Excellent, and
Come, Brandy.
thank you again.
To adventure we
for-
go.
You walk off, and she just kind of like stands there, starts eating grass.
Come. I'll just gently stroke at her cheeks and hold her reins.
Yep.
And just slowly guide her.
Yeah, starts slowly guide her, and just like there's like a nudge as she just stands still. She's not like defiant; she's just lazy. But after
I'll
some coaxing, you manage to get her to move along. And once you attach the cart to her, she is like the slowest horse ever.
And Ricardo is just completely oblivious to this fact and thinks she's amazing.
If your horse doesn't go any faster, we might have to just feed it to the shark.
I don't insult Brandy in that way. She is a mighty fine carting horse. Just look at her wonderful braids.
Brandy looks up with her little straw hat on, ears poking through. Okay, so before you to the northeast there's vast grassland, which goes into sort of hills and more dense shrubbery before turning into sort of arboreal forest land, and beyond that you're told are the mountains. It's quite a long journey to Khin Uldar from here, from what you know. And, you've no idea what kind of lies in between here and there. So unless there's something else you want to do, should we just make a journey roll?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
So we do have a scout, so do you want to make a roll for scouting ahead? How's that, first of all?
Would I have advantage if since we're following the tracks I found before?
Yes, if that's the intention what you go with. In fact, if you're just tracking, let's just go through your tracking first of all, let's see where that goes.
So would that be 2d6 plus what for tracking?
Well, 3d6, because you got advantage. And then whatever approach you're taking. You try to creep up on them so they don't find you. I mean, you'll be quite a few days behind them anyway. Or you try to do it quickly to catch up with them, or you being careful so that you don't encounter any traps.
I think since we're so far behind, I'd do it quickly since we're so far behind.
Okay. That is about as good a roll as you can get.
Wow.
Yeah, that's really good.
I want to use a reroll, but I also want to see what happens.
That is up to you.
Alright, let's see what happens. What could possibly go wrong?
You're on your shark while you're tracking, correct?
Right.
I have two options here. I'll go with the random one that I rolled earlier. So you are so preoccupied with the tracks on the ground, you fail to notice the giant shadow that's like approaching you. And by the time you do realise that it's not clouds that are blocking the sunlight, it's a massive, body above you. By the time you realise it, the massive eagle has already snatched your shark between its claws and is like ascending with speed into the air. The others can only look on helplessly from below as you're like carried off into the sky by this enormous elephant bird.
Is it saying anything or?
Yeah, it's taking you to feed its young ones. Do you want to roll defense for me? I want to see how damaged your shark is.
Alright.
You say there's no way there's any traps in the sky, Drac, but we had a whole thing before about sky islands and the ecology that lives above the clouds.
Oh, that was explaining his 111. He's like, I'm gonna follow the tracks quickly because there's no way there's any traps in the sky.
Yeah.
Would a gambit help since it has its sharp claws?
What's that?
Would a gambison help?
No, the gambeson won't help. It doesn't have any like natural armor itself, does it?
It does have ogre stomach. It could eat the eagle.
No, that's not going to help it with defense. It'll help it if it's trying to eat it. Oh, that's nasty.
All right, I'm gonna use my lucky for this one.
Lucky makes a 10, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, your shark takes a pain and a stress. Which is obviously on your track anyway.
Freezes up for a moment and is bleeding.
Yes, this massive claws sink into the side of your shark, cutting into it, causing it to bleed and wriggle. But it just kind of like freezes up. That sort of instinct, deer in the headlights kind of effect, as you soar back upwards into the sky. You are like hundreds of feet high in the sky, and it's taking you even higher up into the cloud line. You know you've not got long to react, so what'd you do?
I'll pull out a rope and try to throw it over the eagle's head, over its neck, so I can climb up its back.
I kind of think that's more of a clever roll. Unless you're thinking something else.
No, I think that's right.
You can't feel it in the other one, surely.
No, I'm just trying to see if I would have if any of my tags or anything help with that.
First 4 rolls of the day are all fails. Oh my god.
Could I use my background to re-roll that?
What's your background?
Professional Beastmaster.
Yes, definitely for that, yeah.
Alright.
What the hell is going on?
The algorithm's just like crushes the day. Yes, you managed to get the lasso over it, clamber up onto its back. You can already see it's kind of like turned to the south. Well, not to the south, turned off to the east. And you can see the mountains it's heading for, where you guess its nest is. It's not going to take it long to get there because of the speed it's travelling at. It bursts through the cloud line. You can feel, the thin oxygen, the air getting thinner. You can feel the freezing cold at this height.
Alright. I'm gonna pull out one of my arrows and just climb up and straddle its head up right above its eye. And just growl at it to drop us or die.
It sounds like forceful because you're intimidating it.
Would I have advantage for Monster Tongue?
Yeah, sure, because you can actually speak into its mind.
Wow.
Oh my god.
What is happening?
The game wants Salazar to die.
Or to level up.
It's like you must level up as soon as possible.
So I think there's like a moment where it's trying to throw you off, but I mean it can't really shake you too much trying to throw you off while it's carrying your shark. And that's actually quite interesting. Let's say it does shake you off, you begin to plummet and fall through the sky into the clouds, but because it's shaking you off at the same time, it loses its grip on your shark, and your shark also starts to like tumble through the clouds with you, and there's like a splash of blood across your face from the gash in the side of your shark. The two of you begin to this death spiral down to the ground. What'd you do?
Is it still frozen up?
Can Rise see this happening?
I mean, he's just like a speck above the clouds at this point.
Well, we've all seen that Eagle had taken Sherman and Salazar, right?
Yeah.
Well, from that moment, I suppose Rise would sprint and try to catch a glimpse through the clouds what's happening up there. but yeah, he's sprinting in that direction. So yeah, my idea is when I would be able to see them, if I could use my telekinesis to ease their fall.
Okay. Can you do it that kind of range when he's hundreds of feet high? Or would you have to wait until you get lower to try and sort of snatch him?
Well, I suppose it's stronger when it's closer.
Okay, so I'll let you decide if you want disadvantage to do it while he's high, or do you want to wait until there's a risk that he splats into the ground and have advantage?
I'm gonna roll with disadvantage, and I'm gonna use my true grit tag. Once per session, I can turn disadvantage into advantage.
Alright, okay. Sure, so he's tumbling. I can imagine, Salazar, you're like whistling and calling out to your shark, but it is just like in shock almost. It might regain its power of flight in time, but is there going to be enough time for it to also come down and catch you? So then, Rise, you step out. You know, you're running after the ground and using all your powers and focus. So that's about 12 anyway.
Yeah, I spent
So
2 mana.
yeah, so yeah, describe to us what it's like.
Well, from my point of view, from Rise's point of view, it's pretty simple. It's what he's good at. But I would rather if Alex could describe how does it look like.
Well, I had my own idea of what I was gonna do, because Salazar can transform into a flying lizard.
Oh shit! Yes,
I mean, you
totally
can,
forgot.
and you can glide, but I mean, you're like hundreds of feet high. Even if you're gliding, I mean, you'd have to glide over a very long distance to get yourself down safely, surely.
Well, no, I was just gonna glide over to the shark, but I guess since he catches us, we'll in the middle of like falling while we're still about 100 feet up. Do you have? Is there like any kind of effect when you're holding something with telekinesis?
Um, I imagine him is that he's a quiet mage. His spells are not flashy. There are no special effects or something. When he does telekinesis, it's almost invisible that he's actually doing anything. Just
So we
maybe
just-
waves with his arm. But you know what? At least now I can imagine you're up there in the air. You can try to catch this eagle.
Well, so your telekinesis, are you like just grabbing him and holding him in the air, or are you just like trying to slow down his descent?
Well, that depends up to you if that's even possible from the speed that they're falling.
I mean, you got 12, you can do whatever you like.
Yeah, since Rise doesn't actually know that he can turn into a lizard. He sees them falling, so he'll stop them in the midair and slowly start lowering them down, like with the elevator, magical elevator.
Okay, Salazar, so you're just like thinking about changing form, gliding down, making your way over to the shark, and then your speed that you're dropping, that you're falling, slows and steadies, and you're almost like softly gliding downwards. But I imagine your shark's still tumbling.
Yeah, probably just rolling around, just trying to regain its bearings.
Yeah, but I mean, it will definitely regain its bearings and kind of come to and just, go into a sort of swim spiral to control its descent before it gets anywhere near the ground.
guess we'll need a. Once he lands, he'll look back up the sky and say, "Do you think we should hunt that down before we head further?"
I would suggest that we avoid as much trouble as we can. We still don't know what awaits.
I mean, if I were a gigantic eagle, I don't think I'd let such a tasty fish go. It might be back.
We can only hope.
Okay, so you survived that. The tracks you were following, they continue for a time, and then they split. The larger part of the army goes more eastern, northeast, or more east by northeast. Whereas the rest of them kind of go in the direction you guess that you were wanting to go initially anyway. Although not nearly as many of them, maybe only 20 bodies or so.
It seems like there must be more survivors at Khin Uldar, otherwise they wouldn't send so many over there.
What you have noticed is all the time you've been following the Trail of the Abominations, the ground is just like dead. All the life has been sucked out, absorbed. The vegetation, the animal life, there has like been nothing. It's very much a path of blight and destruction.
Any thoughts on what we should do?
Keep doing what we was into, though. If they only sent in 20, I don't think there's going to be that many survivors.
Yeah, so the scouting ahead didn't like do very well roll-wise. Who wants to roll for the actual journey? It's just gonna be like a flat 2d6.
I guess I'll try, see if we can break the cursed luck.
You can have an approach actually I've written down if you want to choose your method of sort of discerning your path.
Are we going to be quick, careful, or
Stealthy.
stealthy? Probably the best ones.
Flashy.
Well,
Travel with the gods' aid or something like that.
I don't think Brandy allows you to be quick or Duradam.
no, but they do allow us to be flashy. So we're
This
going
is
with
true.
flashy. You've got me standing in the car, out of the car, with Brandy slowly moving toward and walking beside it, laughing into the heavens.
Totally not part of that party.
We got a 10 because it +1 for flashy.
Um,
Go for the flashy.
I also I like the idea like Duradim's carrying a barrel of stout, so they're just like sharing amongst themselves as they travel, like telling stories.
On a 10 you pick one of these, Ricardo. I'll post it in roll 20.
Okay.
Sorry, with a 10 you choose 2. And that apply.
I'm going to say we surprisingly don't encounter any danger.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't say we're not going slow because we are definitely going slow. So it's got to be we discover something. Just because I can't say we're not slow because we're definitely slow.
I mean, we already encountered the danger.
But no, our scout encountered danger. The rest of the party's fine.
Oh, right, Dark, were any of those things considered a daredevil something?
No, I don't think so because it wasn't like intentional for you to get snatched up in the air and fall. I mean, you could argue that lassoing the giant hawk is kind of Daredevil, but it was also out of necessity.
Yeah.
So you happen upon it discovering your path, which is handy. Yes, after many days of travelling across the steppe grasslands and the forests and the hills, you encounter a mountain that stands alone. It seems to be a steep edifice and a flat plateau on top from a distance. And as you approach it, you see that it's not just a mountain stand here on its own in the middle of the forest, but an entire city seems to, or temple of some sort, seems to be carved into the mountain itself as you approach. It has been long abandoned and left to ruin, and is heavily overgrown. The architecture is strange, and although much of it is exaggerated and obviously built to impress, you can tell by some of the seating and the handles and such that you find that it must have been people of a small stature, perhaps half the height of a normal sized human, that were inhabiting it.
Does Rise feel any mana presence, something magical out of the place?
There's a. When you roll clever for me, let's see how much detail you get. Yes, there's definitely been a very strong mana presence here. This is somewhere that was inhabited by people who knew how to wield magic, ancient magic. And they were very skilled artisans at wielding it as well. You can feel it imbued into many of the buildings and the larger statues here. What doesn't seem as obvious is there's a lot of normal sized statues scattered as you approach the place across the bridge works and into the main entrance. And these statues are not all of people who are like, half the height of a man. These are like regular sized people. You can tell by studying them as well that they're in various poses of surprise, shock, horror. A couple of them look as if they're fleeing and looking back. A lot of them have been carved with backpacks and satchels and exploration tools and climbing tools on them. And these are like all kinds of people and races. And they seem to be they're not like set out in any sort of order or display. They're just like scattered all around the pathways as you approach.
Does it look like they're fleeing from a particular place, or is it just like even if they're scattered, are they all running away from like a central area?
Yeah,
Or is it
from the
just,
direction of the city itself. As if they
Is
were
there
fleeing.
anything on the statues that's not made of stone?
No, they are completely stone.
There's got to be treasure in this place.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Right, for Rise, it's not a dilemma. He wants to find out because his drive is to find magical artifacts and to learn about magic, and this is definitely something that would lure his interest. So I'm thinking about making a stop here. We've been traveling for a few days. We saw nothing. This is worth of investigating, and I can feel a magical presence emitting from here.
We should
Ricardo.
rest before we head any further, though.
I was
Ricardo's
trying
just
to
gonna make
justify stopping. I'm just
Sorry.
going to go ahead and go to the city.
Sorry, Jack, what'd you say?
If I was just trying to justify stopping, like, yeah, we should stop. I'm just going to go ahead and go into the city. I'm just going to settle stuff right in there. Treasure to find.
Okay, you go right ahead, sure. What were you
Uh,
saying,
and-
Al?
Ricardo's just gonna comment. Wow, these are fantastically made statues.
Dark, did you mention that we've been traveling for a few days? So I suppose then we are already rested.
I mean, it's been a long trek through the forest and stuff. You might need to like rest up if you're like feeling the strain of wounds or whatever.
Yep. What do you guys say
Yeah,
if
we
we
can rest.
make a short stop here before entering this, whatever this is?
I'd love to admire some of the beautiful statues made here. Of course, I'd be glad to stop.
Duradam, you'll notice like some of the statues are dwarves as well.
Yeah, I think, especially if Draken's gone ahead, Duradin will like approach the entrance, but not actually go inside until the rest have like caught up.
Sure. Drax, since you were just kind of like nipping on ahead, you want to roll quick for me? I love these field rolls today. My God.
It even
XP.
makes sense because I'm giving no fucks about anything. Right now.
So you shadow step, and you need to do it a couple of times because it's quite a distance to get into the city. Are you looking for like an advantageous position so you can like survey the interior of it?
Yeah, I'm looking for a high up place. For
Yeah,
sure.
get a plan. So, as I say, it's been carved into the mountain, and once you go through the entranceway halfway up the mountain, the inside of the mountain has been completely carved out, and there's no like roof or plateau on it. It's been like open to the sky, so you get to a higher position that's advantageous. You're looking over it, trying to like plan a route and look for things that might be valuable, worth visiting. And without warning, there is someone behind you, and you feel a pair of arms like reach out up under your armpits and drag you backwards. The world just kind of like folds in on itself around you, and all of a sudden you're in the same place but somewhere else. The environment and the landscape around you is the same, but everything is covered in a sort of thick fog. It's almost like a kind of purple desaturated mist. And there is no living creatures. There's no plant life. The sky is like kind of violet. The sun is muted. And standing behind you is the succubus Drakkar. She lets go of you once you've kind of like folded into this place that you're in. I think it's time me and you had a little talk.
Even shadows in this place. That'd be my first thing to look for. I suppose.
No, not to rob you of your ability, but there won't be here because your shadows are obviously links to the shadow realm to kind of like pass through. There's no connection here. There might be places where the light casts a shadow, but it's not like a shadow that connects to anything. This is something different. This is not the material realm.
Right. Well, I kind of figure that's what, but that'd still be like the first thing I would look for. Can escape that.
Of course. And she'll notice what you're doing and lets out a laugh. You really lack the ability, don't you? Look at you. You're almost pathetic. How much that humanity has poisoned you.
I guess thing I would do would I can gain distance. I don't know anything about this person, but she just insulted me, and I'm in a bad situation. First reaction is violence.
So your reaction is violence.
And my first reaction is violence. I'm just gonna throw some ninja stars at her and jump backwards, try to get distance.
Okay. Sounds like a quick action again.
Love it.
Yeah, you throw your ninja stars at her and she just disappears. And you're standing there and you're all alone. And then before you know it, she's behind you and she kicks you in the back and knocks you over. Take a pain. She says, I don't want to hurt you, Drakan. I just want to talk.
This is not my day.
You can start by telling me, why do you hide yourself? Are you really that bothered about what they think of you?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I know what you are. You're like me. You're from another realm. You're not from this material place filled with humanity and its despicable, disgusting mortal cousins.
You must got me confused with someone else. I've literally been careful, not here, there my whole life.
She rubs her chin a little bit. She's like, interesting. So you really never, you did not spawn from the demonic realm?
Magic even worked in this place? I'll try to spell noise.
Oh, you can try to spell if you want, yeah.
I would use mana, so
How much mana are you spending on it?
one.
Okay. What spell is it?
Near me, now there's just
Mirror me, okay. Yeah, I'm gonna push the consequences. Yes, you create a mirror image of you, and you pick one of these consequences. And she sees you, duplicating, and she just gives an amused smirk. I told you, Drakan, I'm not trying to harm you. And if you don't know how to enter this realm, I certainly don't think you can leave. So you'll need me if you ever want to not be stuck here in limbo forever.
yeah. Forgive me if I don't trust the demon lady. I don't know, it's that's one to the next spell.
Okay.
With that, I'm just gonna run. I'm just gonna full tilt both me and the copy. Just gonna run in different directions.
Sure, you run down the stairwell that takes you into like open courtyards. You can see like there's a giant ship floating that's been chained to some docks. Everything is there that was there in the city before, except this seems like a dead place, an empty place. Occasionally you see like a ghostly apparition figure just sort of gliding across the ground. And you can hear Drakkar following you, yelling out to you. Said, "There's nowhere to run, Drakkan."
She didn't even fall. She like followed only me.
Yeah, she's just like jogging or walking after you.
This information. I just had to go find some signing. Yeah, no, it's to the city by myself. Yeah. Keep ignoring her, I guess. Keep trying to find a way, anything that might help. I guess I'll be exploring buildings and whatnot.
Sure, I mean you run into like a temple building, all the statues are there. There's maybe a few more apparitions in here, and they turn around and look at you with sort of blank expressions. They just look mournful and depressed, and they turn back to just staring at the walls of the statues as they were. You run into what looks to be like an old warehouse or storehouse of some sort, and it's just empty apart from the statues which are scattered around.
Touch the phantasms or whatever they are, or do I just pass right through them?
You can touch them. They're sort of semi-solid. It's almost like a fluid or a gel when you touch them. Your hands don't pass all the way through them, but they just like step away from you as if it's uncomfortable, and they say, "Don't."
They talk. Oh shit.
I should also say these apparitions are, for the most part, half your size. They only come up to like your waist, and they have kind of like pointy features, pointy noses, pointy chins, pointy ears.
they talk, then I tried to ask him, what is this place and how do I get out of here?
This is the place that the godless go, those without belief.
Oh, so you're dead? Is that what happened? You died and you came here?
They just nod solemnly. And then they pull one finger to tell you to be quiet, and they're like, you must be quiet though, or the eaters will hear you.
A chair. Can I just like sit down on a chair?
Sure, you sit down in a chair. After a short time, Drakkar catches up with you. She says, I told you not to run, there's nowhere to go.
I tried to ignore her for now and try to. She took me there somehow, so there has to be a way back home. No, I just could travel between places, so I guess I'm just gonna feel. I don't know how the elves do it. Just feel.
Okay, so you run off and she's going to follow you, that going for a while. So if we go back to you guys, and you guys are looking to make camp and rest up here.
Yeah. Rise just lowered his stuff on the ground, find some nice place, leaned on a stone, and he packs his pipe and lights a pipe, taking a bit of rest. And interestingly, he looks at Salazar with admiration. He observes him with respect.
Okay, so you sit down and you're admiring Salazar, who's feeding your shark and getting some rest.
Yeah, I'm trying to take care of his still broken arm.
Sure. So you recover your pain because you've got time to rest for that. And if you don't have, do you have anything to treat a wound?
I have some potions, but yeah, I guess he'll just drink a potion.
You can also recover one stress just from rest. And your potion's 1d4 wounds.
I only have one wound.
Oh, okay. You really want to drink your potion when you've only got one wound?
No, that's a good point.
I'd say it's at least two, you know.
And then you'll roll a 1.
But then again, I can't shoot my bow with a broken arm.
That's a point. It's up to you, man. It's your thing.
Nah, I'm sure everything will be fine.
I mean, you can order your shark to attack and stuff like that. It's not like you have to, like, shoot to attack. You've got other options.
You can shoot with the other hand.
Just like throw the arrows like a javelin.
You know, there are people who shoot bows with their feet.
But then what would I hold onto the shark with?
You
I
can
mean,
balance them.
You know, like, there's other stuff you can do.
Yeah.
What about you, Ricardo? Well, they're kind of like kicking back.
I'm analyzing all the statues just on the way here. Just absolutely impressed with the detail, the craftsmanship, like all the fine details to like the things in the bags and all that. It's only not noticing anything else that's going on around.
Yeah, I mean, it's right down to the fine that you can see, like, one of them has, like, a handful of coins that have been, like, crafted into it, the way he's clutching them. And it's, you know, it's the amount of detail on it is just amazing.
I'm currently looking at one counting the nasal hairs stone fine nasal hairs. I'm like, so much detail. It's absolutely fantastic.
When we were walking through the statues to get closer to the city, did I notice any tracks of any monsters that might have caused this? Or is it just seem like they just all inexplicably started running away and turning to stone?
I mean, I think it's fair enough. You might start looking for tracks if you want to get me a clever roll or a careful roll.
Would I have advantage for tracking?
Yeah, sure. But yes, I mean, you definitely find something very heavy because there's some cracks that must have been like indentations in the stonework. And it looks like something that moves extremely quickly with very kind of short steps, which for something heavy would be very unusual. The only alternative to that would be if it's something that had a lot of legs.
This place, I forget your initial description. Did you say it was like very obvious, like ancient, like the buildings and stuff?
Oh yes, very old, yes. You can just tell by the amount of vegetation that's grown over.
Yeah, just in case the picture in Roll20 wasn't like accurate, you know?
No, I mean that's about as close to it as I could get. Yes, I mean it's ancient structures. It's not dwarven architecture because you would recognise that. But the craftsmanship is very fine.
And not a single one of these statues like has vegetation growing over it, does it?
Some of the statues definitely they look like a different type of stone to start with. Imagine the mountain rock, the sandstone is what many of the original statues and pathways and structures are made of. But these ones that you're finding, they're more of a granite kind of stone. I mean, some of them have been there for longer than others, just by how worn they look from the elements. So they were not all created at the same time.
I think Duradum, like this place has a gate or a door.
Oh yes, ancient space, yes.
Yeah, so he'll return to examining that. And you said they had like ancient ruins.
Yes.
I take it he wouldn't recognize any of them.
Runes, pictographs. They're not dwarvish in nature, so I don't think you'd recognise them.
But I don't know how long it would take, but I feel like eventually we'd realise Drakan's not coming back.
Yes, after a certain amount of time, you'd be like, where is he?
Where is Ricardo?
He's just ogling the statues.
No, I mean he disappears from.
I said
question.
BRB. He was going to the bathroom or something.
Well,
we need to be careful. Whatever caused this is, it looks like it's still here.
Drakan, he's not much of a company person. I suppose he's somewhere in there, and if he is in danger, he should be wiser. We're not gonna expose ourselves because of his nature to do his things alone on his own terms. But I would like us to stick as a group if we enter inside. I've seen some places like this in my lifetime, and it's always to work as a team, if you catch my drift.
Wait, Salazar, you sound like you know what caused all this.
Oh. Would he recognize the tracks or signs he found?
Why don't you give me a clever roll and we'll see what your knowledge of beasts extends to. Yeah, you've heard of it. You've never encountered one, but you've heard of a monster, a basilisk, which is a creature which is large, it's supposed to have many legs, and it's supposed to turn people to stone. And it fits everything that you're seeing here. But you've no idea about weaknesses or how to hunt it or what might trigger it.
It looks like it may be a basilisk, but I'm not sure what we should do about it.
A basilisk. Not much have I heard about that creature, because not much people were left alive after encountering one. Yes, we should definitely work out a strategy before we enter.
That's all the more reason we can't leave the can on his own.
Oh yes, we are going
He's
in.
going to like start trying to, if the gates are closed, I think he's just going to try and push them open and
Yeah, I
head on in.
mean, with your size and strength, I think you can just heave and just like push the stone door apart and enter into the mountain city.
He is not really one for plans.
Well, anyways, Salazar, we could use you. You have sharp senses. You are a tracker. I suppose there could be some traps as well. Maybe even some magic guarding this place, and of course, unknown enemies inside. It's better if we stick together and look for traps. Go inside slowly and carefully, with our weapons, of course.
Yeah, so while you guys are like making your way into the city, Drakan, you've like continued to run through the streets. There are passages that lead downwards. There are passages that lead, or stairways that lead upwards, into the edges of the mountain, into these like platforms around this floating vessel. Or you could you can now see there's an opening at the main entrance that you could run out of. So where would you like to run? Your mic's muted in case you didn't notice.
Oh, I didn't notice. I think I'm just gonna walk around the city. I'm not gonna try to come out anymore. I think after a time, I'll come to the conclusion that I can't leave. I'm not really trying to like run away from her anymore. I'm just exploring more than anything.
Yeah, and as you're exploring, you know, you're studying the architecture and just kind of picking up the same things they were seeing. But she continues to question you as you're going around. She's asking, you know, who are you really? Why are you traveling with these strange people? This magical warrior that you're with, and the strange construct. It's like, what's your purpose here? And she says, don't you realize that the time of reckoning for these mortals is coming? There will be a place for us here on the material realm, and we'll no longer be the outsiders and the outcasts and the monsters. And you could be one of us, Drakan. But you have to, you know, you can't keep pretending you're not who you are.
I know exactly who I am. I know exactly what you are.
Yes, and we are alike, you and I. Can you not see?
Your view is limited.
My view is limited, and yet you associate with these fleshy mortals. For what? For trinkets of metal?
Don't insult my trinkets.
Don't you realise the power that you could have? The power that's in you?
And what good would that do me?
And at that point, you don't see anything, but you hear a loud noise echo out. I said it doesn't because it doesn't play. This horn reverberates around the landscape, echoes around the inside of the mountain city, and Ricard, for the first time, actually looks frightened. She's like, our time has run out here, Drakan. Please come here. We must return to the material realm.
Sounds like a plan to me. I don't want to be here any longer.
She reaches out and offers her hand to you. And you see it's a female human hand, soft and pale.
Just grab a hold of it.
There's a rushing sensation as reality kind of folds in on itself, and all of a sudden you're standing in the same spot, but you're in the city material realm, and the sun is, coming through the top of the clouds.
Just I'm by myself again.
No, she's standing there beside you. You can see the others of your party entering the city through the front gate from where you're standing. And she notices them too at the same time. And then she turns to face you once more. Just remember, Drakan, you'll have to make a choice soon. And you need to pick a side. And then she disappears in front of your eyes. Just blinks out of existence.
It's easy enough to pick a side that doesn't kill people. I'm gonna be looking around because I'm just a little bit worried about that noise still.
Yes. Here, you whistling out, you don't hear the noise. You guys that entered the city, you can see, like I described, as this massive air dock, and this looks like floating ship of some sort, just like stationary there. It's been chained to the platforms, but it looks as if it's been there for a long time. It's all overgrown with vegetation and such as well. There's more statues scattered around. There's a temple, administrative looking buildings, halls of residence, and near the temple are passageways which go downwards into the depths of the mountain.
Wow, at a temple.
And
It
perhaps
is
you,
quite so.
sorry, perhaps those of you who are not oblivious, you might notice Drakan.
You mean all one of them? All of them?
And
Dracana,
here's our
you are
buddy.
right. Drakan, did you find anything?
Nothing here.
I didn't know you were there.
Dark, can I try to follow the magical source so we can pick the route towards the magical source?
Sure. So
Like,
most of the city is kind of imbued with this magic. You can see it around this flying vehicle. You can see it around the structures, but the source that you're picking up is the same type of magic, but more defined as if it belongs to something in particular. In fact, it probably has a different hue to it. It's even more ancient. It's like truly ancient. Perhaps one of the earliest of magics, but something that you've encountered before in the collections of your fellow realm wardens. There is a distinct miasma that you could follow as a trail, and it goes into the depths of this temple that you find.
I I let everybody know what I'm sensing. I show the direction.
And he points towards the temple where there is a lot more of these granite statues than any other part of the city.
Jokan, please, can you stick to us? Because if you try to do things on your own, you could expose us all to danger. I don't mind you throwing yourself into danger, but don't do that to the rest of us.
If you want to avoid danger, you should probably leave.
Leave. Since when do you not accept maybe some treasure?
Two of them just like shouts at the top of his lungs, like, "What are you talking about? The treasure's right here!" And he's gesturing up to the huge ship. Like, think if we could clear out all this vegetation, we could ride this like a shark. We can
So,
get out of here.
yeah, as Duradam's saying it to y'all, he has his back to like this massive shadow cast by the building and the thing floating above him. And he hasn't noticed it, but you can all see it when he's turned talking to y'all. A pair of blinking, evil-looking amber eyes just in the darkness.
Do I hear them? Hear their owner saying anything, or
I'm too busy staring at the airship to notice the big blinking staring eyes.
Look, the danger.
Dracan and Rise would certainly see it if they were looking towards Duradam when he's yelling.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely looking towards Jordan when he yells. My buddy, I always pay attention to him.
Yeah, I'm also thinking about the idea that we could even ride that ship.
Okay, so the owner of this huge set of eyes steps forward, and this huge serpentine lizard head with a sort of parrot beak for a mouth comes into the light from the shadow, and his head is easily the size of Duradam.
is it saying anything, or can I feel its intentions?
So I mean, I know you can talk, but I mean, are you psychic as well?
No, I guess not.
Two of them still going on, like, think of the pace we could make to the mountains. We could be there in a day.
This like long shadow is like cast over Duradam. Overhead as this thing raises its head on its long serpentine neck above him. You see the first of its pair of giant toad-like feet kind of step out from the darkness. You begin to realise the sheer size of this thing.
Yes. Cleaning the moss should take us no more than a day or two, I believe. And then we'll make quick pace to the mountains.
Yeah, who does see this thing looking over him?
I would.
Okay, you turn to stone. Anyone else?
I mean, getting me and Rise looking at him so we see the whole thing.
Anyone that sees the creature's eyes just turns to stone.
Though
Oh boy.
I think two of them would have seen its eyes, but he'll have seen like his friends turn to stone while he
Yeah.
was talking to them.
Yeah.
And I think then he would spin around and probably see, like, if this thing's up above him, would he see like its torso? Is it like a snake? Did you say?
I mean, you don't need to be shy. You turn around and see the torso like a big snake, and then you look up and you see the big, massive, beaked reptilian head, and it looks down at you with these eyes, and they're almost swirling with fire as they look down at you. But nothing happens to you. You're already made of stone.
I think he would even realize it was meant to do something to him. He'll just like connect that something happened to his friends. It must be this thing, and he's just gonna like lunge at it with his axe.
Sounds forceful.
So if
Oh, and I got an 8.
that's going to Ricardo's still going to be commentating on how to best clean the ship and how quickly it would do it.
Yeah, so you just, without thought, you just charge into it, sink your axe into the front arch of its breast. Your axe goes through the scales, and this kind of like thick blue blood comes out. And the thing hisses angrily and just like leaps into the air above you, and you can see as it does so, it has like 4 pairs of these toed legs that allow it to just like spring into the air, and it flaps these massive feather wings and flies up and lands on top of the flying vehicle or the floating vehicle. You'll see it do that, Ricardo, but it's not looking at your eyes, so it's not going to turn you stone.
What's going on here?
It's done something to them.
Ah, what abominable kind of creature is this? I'll draw one of my rapiers. Getting ready for battle.
This is probably going to be ridiculous, but I'm going to try and hack one of the chains and yank it so the boat will like. I'm guessing it's way too big for this, but I just want to like tilt it a tiny bit so that the thing gets set off balance.
Okay, that sounds quite clever if you want to go for that.
Oh no, clever.
I mean, you can argue it's forceful easily.
I mean, I think it'd be more force than thought he'd be putting into it, but up to you. Like, he just wants the thing down, so he's just gonna like tug the chain as hard as he can.
Sure, I'm okay with it being forceful because it is a feat of strength. Yes,
With
you
that
yank the thing with such force, the whole ship just tilts to like, not to one side, but sort of one corner of it sort of tilts down, causing the creature to like slide and hiss, and it leaps into the air and beats its wings a couple more times. You might be able to infer that it's not capable of full flight, or perhaps it just doesn't want to leave here, because it could fly away out the top of the mountain, but it doesn't. It glides itself and lowers itself to the ground below, into this massive open courtyard area.
What is it? What's going on? Trying to find the beast.
It's a gigantic bird snake, and two of them just like rushing after it.
I'll rush after Durden.
The creature like lowers its head and just like gives you an intense stare, Durden, as you run towards it. It clearly seems to think it can just like turn you to stone with its gaze, but that is just not happening as you close the distance.
And if it's going to present its face like that, I'm going to have to bury my axe in it.
Forceful again, then.
I think I could argue it was quick because it's just like before it raises its head again. But either one.
Yeah, that's fine as well.
And I failed.
Oh lordy.
I think it seems like at this point, Rise is the only one who can consistently succeed.
Ricardo's
Yeah.
been succeeding pretty well.
So Ricardo, while he's charging at it, what do you want to do? Because you can't miss this thing; it's massive.
Well, I'm going to try and stab it, and it'll be coming behind Durden. I'm just going to try and stab it in any weak spot, which the most obvious one would be the eyes.
Sure, that sounds great.
So,
Maybe careful because you're like aiming for that particular area.
Yep. No, I'm not careful, so I'm not going to go well.
That's
Oh,
not
7.
bad.
Still a 7.
But yes, you stab the thing in one of its eyes, and it lets out a snarl, a hiss, and a roar all at the same time. It thrashes its head to the side, and like knocks you across the ground. So you're going to take a pain. Oh, sorry. Roll defense for me.
I believe I have +2. 1 or 2 for defense. Individual.
Okay, so you're going to take a wound and then a pain or a stress. Just because the thing's so huge when it smacks you, the power of it.
Mhm.
But yes, you and the thing itself like smacks you with its head as it arrives, and it lifts itself into the air and starts beating its wings. If you want to roll defense for me as well, do the damn.
Okay. And I assume it wouldn't be. Oh, 11 anyway, alright.
Okay, you're going to take a pain and a stress. And imagine when you're trying to close the distance quickly, and Ricardo gets the first stabs it gets up, beats its wings, and the force of that like bowls you over and sends you rolling backwards. But it only lifts itself up for a moment, a few feet in the air, and then it kind of like lands on the ground and scurries past your statue friends into the depths of the temple below. So it's Drax, Salazar, and Rise all stone, yeah.
Well,
I think so.
Yeah, I was kind of oblivious to the creature as well. I was admiring the ship. But yeah, I suppose if I turned around,
They
I
caught
would.
its eyes, yeah. Okay, so Jordan and Ricardo, what do you want to do now?
Well, I've been knocked to the ground and my shoulder's been broken.
Ouch.
So, yeah. So it takes me a wee while to get up. And when I do, I've got to slam my shoulder back into place. My arm's still going to be, left arm's going to still be numb and hard to use.
Like, I think two of them would just now be piecing together, like, how did it do that to them? It didn't. It was behind me.
How did it do what to it? What has happened, my friend?
Oh, look, Raniv, Salazar, Dakin, they're statues.
Takes about 3 seconds for Ricardo to realise what's happened.
There's like Drax statues like right beside you as the realization comes in. You're like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's like 1, 2, 3. Oh my god! That creature is turning these people into spawn! They were not statues outside! We must slay this abominable creature!
What if it gets us? How do we protect against this?
I am known to be quite resilient against such unusual anathema. But do we know how it is turning these creatures to stone? If we figure that out, then we may have a solution to this problem. Did you notice anything, Dorado?
He's just like looking around to see if it could have been something, and like groaning and going, I don't know.
I love how you two are just like morons.
But
We need to kill this thing quick. Maybe it'll restore them.
yes, slaying the creature may restore our friends to their current predicament, as well as the others here. Come, we will chase after this beast.
Yeah, I think it just make like full pace towards the bottom of the temple, gravitated to.
Yep. Agreed.
Yes,
Chase it.
you run into the dark temple. There's a hole in the roof that lets in sunlight, which illuminates this sort of idol in the center. Run. Are you just like charging in?
I think two of them would be
Yeah, Jordan.
Yeah, I think Ricard.
Okay, and you're both oblivious. So do you both want to roll defense for me?
fuck.
Oh my god, these fails. Oh my god, these fails.
Oh wait, did I get
No, mine-
advantage to that?
What's that?
Okay,
I've-
no,
I got-
okay.
I have +2, so that's a pass for me.
Okay.
Would I get advantage for pain as gain, or is that an action?
If you took pain last time, yeah, I think you do.
I'll use that there then. Yes,
I
it's an 8.
So 79 is going to be you take a wound, and then you take either a pain or a stress. And imagine the thing just like swoops down from the side of the interior of the temple wall, and just like slams into the two of you and knocks you over with its legs as it like flies by and lands on the other wall.
I'm gonna try and quickly grab it as we're knocked away. So grab onto it as it's jumping over.
Quickly roll then. Jesus Christ, what are you doing?
Yep. I'm +1 for quick.
Oh, you are +1. Okay.
I'm +1 for quick.
I'm sure you
It's
managed to
just
just like
faster. Quick.
grab onto one of its giant toad-like toes, and you're when it lands on the other wall, you're just like dangling by one of its toes, and it like curls around, hissing at you, but because the eyes are on like either side of its head, the eye that's like staring at you is the one you stabbed, and it doesn't turn you to stone.
I will just stab into its leg with my sword to get a better grip.
Okay, roll forceful. Jeez,
God.
what is going on, man?
What? I'm pretty sure I've 0 for forceful. Yes, that's a fail.
Yes, you. Oh, let's see what's this here. I mean, you can't miss it because it's so huge. So you're going to stab into it. You're going to cause it some pain. It's going to like hiss again in anger and just like shake its leg with you, sending you tumbling to the ground. Do you want to take a pain for just like hitting the ground?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so do that. What do you want to do now?
So I've lost my sword. That sword's going to be stuck in its leg.
How open of an area are we in?
Oh, this is a very large circular temple, very much like the pictures displaying.
And did we charge far in, like before?
Oh, I mean, imagine it got you before you even got halfway into this platform corridor.
And are we on like an ridge like that?
Yes, all around you is just like a thin pool of water all the way around it. Ricardo's already landed in it. You can see like he's just up to his ankles. It's not very deep.
Right, well, while it was presumably distracted, like shaking off Ricardo,
Yes.
I'm going to try to ram it into the lake, or whatever you call it, the water, like next to Ricardo, so we can continue an offensive.
Okay, so I mean it is up on the wall. It's not very high up, but it is up on the wall on the other side where it should come off. Do you want to run and charge into the wall and try to knock it into the water?
Not what I was intending, but yeah, if I can knock off the wall, that'll do that'll do pretty well.
Yeah,
as well.
because getting up to it to actually slam into it would be kind of difficult.
Yeah.
Sure, that's forceful, because you're just charging. See,
And
that's
a 10.
yeah. I mean, that's a good time.
I imagine because it's like an ancient ruin, it's not really that I like knock it off. It's the wall starts to crumble beneath it.
Yeah, because that's going to actually inflict a wound against it. So you'll slam into the wall, and the portion of the wall it was like gripping onto like gives way, and it tumbles, and the rock falls on top of it, crushing its skull and killing it.
As it lands down there, I'll withdraw my other sword and stab into its head. Its crushed skull. Gotta make sure.
Sure. Yeah. Double tap. Salazar and Drakan and Rise, you know, the world just went black for you for a moment. and cold, and then suddenly you're back, but the creature's gone. The ship is kind of like tilting at an angle in the air, and Duradam and Ricardo are nowhere to be seen.
Salazar just quickly covers his eyes and says, "Don't look at it."
Love it.
Well, Ricardo is still astral lighthouse, right? So I can easily track them down.
Yes, you can see, emitting from the holes in the temple, you can see its light shine through. You also see all around you where these statues were are now just like dead, decaying bodies or skeletons.
Well, the curse must have been lifted. I'll start rushing towards the Ricardo.
I'm gonna follow the sound of Rise's footsteps.
So I think two of them would be trying to behead the thing. Like, I've heard that blood can be used as an antidote. Maybe we can save them.
I'll retrieve my other sword from his leg first, clean that off,
Yeah,
and when Duradam says that, it's like, "Yeah, that's an interesting thought. I never thought it. Are you experienced in alchemy, my good friend?"
Oh my
What?
god.
imagine Duradam's like already hacking the thing, it's half hacked off, and you're just like drenched in this blue blood from the thing as it's spattered all over you.
I just want to be behind
Just not
him.
caring, just interested in the conversation.
Like, two of them just misunderstood what antivenom is. It's like, ah, yes, blood.
As soon as we get close, and I just hear them chopping away at it, Salazar shouts, "Is one of its eyes intact?"
Ah, my friends, you're all okay. You had been turned to stone.
You did it.
Yes, we have slain the beast.
It seems like everybody is freed from the curse, but I suppose they were too long captured in stone, so they're all actually dead. But they are free.
Ah, so they have been liberated from their unnatural prisons.
That's right.
Hmm.
Can I try to approach the head without uncovering my eyes?
Without keeping your eyes covered as you do so? Yeah, I mean you can. You can feel your way along the body with your hands, keeping your eyes closed. Till you get to the squishy part where Duradam's like decapitated it.
I want to check to see if one of its eyes is still whole, or if they stabbed them both.
Did you stab the other one, Ricardo, or did you just stab it in the brain?
I stabbed it in the brain. Probably. Is there any other squishy part on the eye?
No, it's all like scaled, like a reptile.
Yes, it probably did stab the other eye.
Yeah, both eyes have been stabbed in.
I think two of them probably like took him a moment to realise everyone's alright, and he's just kind of like dropped his knees, and he's like, "Oh, thank the gods," and he's like rubbing at where his eyes would be, and there's just like blue blood all over his face.
I will also say to Duradam, like, "This is good news, my good friend. We don't need to create some sort of alchemical potion from its blood to liberate them."
Yes, that's good. I don't know if I'd have managed that.
Well, I imagine as you're all like having this conversation, everyone's failed to notice the blue blood sort of trickling out of the massive wound from the creature and into the pool of water.
I definitely don't notice that.
Tail, yeah.
So what do you just want to do at this point?
Well, I want to try to recover the eye without looking at it.
Sure, you keep your eyes closed, you plunge your fingers in, or a dagger or a knife or whatever you've got. You're able to scoop that out, no problem. You know, it's damaged, but you know, it's a good eye. Well, you don't even mainly even realise it's damaged because you're not looking at it.
Am I able to get both eyes or just one?
You get both, yeah. They've been pierced, but they're not being like wrenched out or anything. Rise, I mean, you'll see this monument in the center of the temple. This is the source of the magical energy you're sensing. And it's almost like it's almost like a tall stone shrine.
Carter's just going to say to her, all right, if we're going to clean up this airship, we better get started soon. Chop chop. And he's going to climb up the stairs to go start cleaning the airship.
Yes, I'm gonna take a few moments here. I'll be back at the boat, at the flying ship. I just wanna check this out. This is very, very old. I must spend some time here, if you would allow me, please.
Two of them just like gestures to him and goes, "Be careful, this might be the thing's nest." And then like follows after Rise.
And
It will take us at least a day or two to clean up the ship. We have plenty of time.
does anybody even know how to fly a ship like that?
And two of them looks at Salazar like, he can fly, can he?
And be harder than flying a shark.
I might know how to fly it. It depends on how old it is.
Well, good. It's worth considering. Now, if you will let me be here for some time, I want to check this out.
Salazar will stay there too and look for eggs to see if he can find a nest or anything.
Okay, so you're going to stay looking for an egg. You're going to stay and study the shrine, and you, Ricardo, you're going out to check the ship. What about you, Drakan?
With a photo, so I guess he's not by himself.
What's that?
Go with a photo, so he's not by himself, I guess.
Okay, what about you, Durdam?
Two of them is going to stay here in case there is another one of them.
Okay, so you're keeping watch just in case no one crawls in.
Yes.
I'm going to take a 5-minute stop, guys, because I'm going to go make a drink.
Sure.
And then we can do
no
loads of
problem.
stuff that way.
Sure.
See, if the thing needed more than to be killed, we would have been completely fucked.
Probably. You and me would be doing some... Well, I think I could probably, if I could get a level up, somehow I could have got Dispel Magic.
Yeah, at least you've got like a god to help you at the left as well.
Yeah. I can
He
I could just
dispelled
pray
a
to
few
my
more
god.
holes like everybody else, you know?
Now I just gotta figure out what we can do with the eyes. Wait a moment. If I find an egg, doesn't that mean it's another basilisk?
Unless it's asexual reproduction, yeah, there'll be a mating pair.
And that
I mean,
depends on how it reproduces, because different ones have different ways according to whatever story you want to believe.
Like, even if they are a mating pair, one of them could have died at some point or left. But
Unless they're the kind
probably
of
couldn't, yeah.
basilisk where like you have a chicken egg or something with a snake. Would it be bad to search the unpetrified bodies for treasure?
Oh,
You're
that's
a
a
bunch of... Sorry.
that's a
go
great idea.
Yeah, if you want to go down the thieving dark route, go ahead. I'd expect he's all to do that while I'm busy clearing the ship we're planning to use to go to our destination.
Yeah, I mean, that's if we can take the ship, which I'm doubtful about, will be worth. Like,
I am 100% going to try and take
more.
that. Ricardo 100% believes that ship was given to him by the goddess. She led us here. She has led us here. She led me to get you all as my companions to this great quest. And this ship is to take us to our victory.
Yeah, just halfway through the journey, you find a room full of treasure. And you just think it's always been there.
That's how Ricardo basically stays alive. He's like, oh, he's found a room of abandoned gold and wealth. It's like, well, the goddess has led me here.
Okay, I'm back. Is everyone else here? Yeah.
Yeah, we're all here.
Where to begin? I guess let's start with you, Rise. So you are studying this altar, this shrine.
Yes.
Do you want to give me a careful roll then? So you can get a chance to fail rolls today as well. It's not bad. Okay, so the
Can
picture.
I want to get the. I want to do better than that. Can I use my mage background?
Yes, certainly.
Oh shit! Can I use my lucky?
You can use your lucky, yes. You
Yes,
should-
I want to know about this thing.
Sure, okay. Yes, I mean, you're like, I think I know what this is. And then there's, what the hell is this? No, wait, this is very confusing. Right, okay, so how old is Rise, roughly?
Well, he's one of the. He's the latest and youngest and newest warden, and I suppose that would be a couple of hundred of years.
Okay, it's just a couple hundred years. He's not really that old in the grand scheme of things.
A young pup compared to most of us here.
So, again, there are pictographs inside the shrine. You can just walk inside of it. Inside of it, in the center, illuminated from the sunlight above, and certainly you can tell by some magical aura, there is an armored gauntlet for your right hand. And it is made of finely polished brass. The type of magic imbued in it is truly ancient, beyond which you've never encountered before. The pictographs on the walls around it depict what looks like some sort of halfling creature with pointed features. And they are carrying a staff. They are wearing a shroud or a cape of some sort, and they are clearly denoted as wearing this gauntlet, which they hold up, and you can see all these little lines coming from the gauntlet. There's a pictograph of it standing across from some skeletons. There is a diagram of 12 individuals standing in a circle, and each of them has enough lines coming out of them to connect to all the other 12 individuals, and in every possible combination. There is, you got the 10, so the final pictograph shows a volcano, and above it what looks like a floating island. And that's what you find in the shrine.
So, a staff, a shroud, and a gauntlet. A volcano, and above the volcano,
Floating island. And I suppose, like, in between the volcano and floating island, something that could be a gateway or a portal of some sort.
And 12 individuals.
12 individuals standing in a circle, and as I said, they're all connected with these thin lines that have been scratched in, and they've taken care to scratch them separately, and they join to each other in a very intricate pattern.
Interesting. Well, connecting this all together is very hard, I suppose, for a rise. Maybe some context,
Sure.
gluing the pieces together.
Sure. So
What
obviously,
would be the message?
this gauntlet is part of this sorcerer, wizard, wise man, priest that's been depicted of this race. Obviously, it's something that they wore. It has something to do with, these 12 people stand in a circle. You are in a circular temple, so perhaps they were standing in here. They were all connected somehow. It could be a magical connection. It could be they're connected by blood ties. There's something that's been depicted as connecting them all. It might even be just like energies flowing between each other. And perhaps it was part of some sort of ceremony. And then the final part is either something they were looking to achieve or something they did achieve, which is this volcano with the island above it. And perhaps it created a gateway or a portal of some sort. Or perhaps it was closing a portal or a gateway of some sort interaction between them. Salazar, you were in here looking for eggs, correct?
That's right.
Okay, so are you in the water looking for eggs? Or are you flying around in your shark?
I think he'd probably know enough to look in the water for eggs.
Okay, so you're like ankle deep in the water, just like sifting through it looking for eggs, yeah?
Right.
Why don't you give me a careful roll? You don't find any eggs. In fact, you know there are no eggs here. There's no nest. I guess you would have known like the type of nest basilisks have, the type that they make in the Underdark, below ground, and amongst rocks. And that is not the environment here. Although it was here, I mean, this is not the environment it should be in, really. And the water doesn't really lend itself anything to the type of environment you need for laying eggs. But you do notice the blood seeping out of the body is doing something with the water. It's like spreading out at an accelerated rate into the water. And it seems to be thickening in consistency as it does so.
Is it having any kind of like negative reaction to it?
How long do you want to stand there and watch it?
I'm gonna get out of the water and watch it.
Okay, Duradam, you're also out of the water and you're sort of standing guard, yeah?
Yeah.
Are you like looking around the walls and the ceiling or the passageways, or what's the sort of...
Because it went up on the wall and it can fly, I think it'd be paying attention just like mainly up above, but also like ground level.
Okay, so you're occasionally looking ground level and mostly kind of looking upwards, and you're oblivious anyway to things.
Yes.
Okay, do you want to roll careful with disadvantage?
That's 7.
That's not bad, actually.
Oh no, one was limit. Sorry, no. Disadvantage, not advantage.
Oh yeah,
So,
5. Okay, yeah, so you're looking around, you don't really notice anything that's going on. Salazar's like staring, watching this blood. And Salazar, the blood spreads right out to the perimeter, the edges of the water, where there are like 12 little circular stone platforms. And it congeals around each of these stone platforms and starts to mould and grow and take shape. And it will form these halfling-sized figures with pointed noses, pointed chins, pointed ears, made out of this blue blood and water. And they have like glowing blue eyes, and they all open their eyes at the same time. Glowing blue eyes. Glowing blue eyes.
No, I think
Glowing blue eyes would be kind of cool as well, enough. But
since his arm is still broken, I'm gonna pull out the void sword.
sure. And Duradam's kind of standing behind you, just like looking up at the ceiling. Rise is in the shrine studying the pictograph stuff.
And I've just got my sweeping brush out and started to climb up the ship, start cleaning the moss and fungus off it.
Yeah, you and Draken are going out to the flying vehicle. I can actually drag you guys back out here. You just go there, you're easily able to make your way up the stairwell up to one of the platforms and then cross the bridges that have been laid out to reach, you know, the thing itself. It's not clear how it's levitating at all. There are like rotors and sails and a rudder and stuff like that, but there's no indication of how it's actually levitating in midair. It's clearly a large stone structure, and it should not be able to do that. But are you just cleaning, Ricardo? What are you doing, Drac?
Doing what I always do.
Looking for loot.
For signing, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, climbing up chains first before cleaning, but yeah, as soon as I get up on top of the airship, I will be cleaning.
Yeah, you can get up there easy, and you just clean the vegetation off and stuff like that. Drac, I mean, all these bodies that are no longer stone, they're decayed and they're skeletons, but they're all dropping like various trinkets and gold and coins and stuff like that, and bits of equipment. I mean, you could easily be like, ooh, bit of candy, ooh, piece of candy.
It's kind of morbid. That's kind of. I don't know if I can cross that line anymore. I just like find stuff on the ship.
Okay, so you decide. So you're okay robbing for people who are alive and need it, but when they're dead, you're like, no, that's too far.
I don't know yet. I'm still debating. Like he's like, I'm okay to cross that line. Like, is Robin the dead? Like, is that okay?
I appreciate the conflict.
we will avoid that option. Just try to find treasure that's laying around. If we don't, we might consider involving the dead.
Okay, so Salazar, what do you want to do in this temple? Because no one else knows these things are forming yet.
How focused is Rise on the shrine?
How focused are you, Rise?
I would make an addition if I would be able to take out a piece of paper, some kind of charcoal for drawing. So I'm drawing that and very, very focused.
Have you got adventure gear?
We all started with them, and I don't think we've used that many, so probably.
So, I mean, if you want to pull adventure gear, Rise, you can pull out like charcoal and paper for taking like an etching of it. Not an etching, what's it called?
Yeah.
A rubbing of it, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm pretty focused on taking the drawings of what I see and what I notice.
Yep, sure. Yeah, so he's pretty focused.
Are they hostile, or are they just staring at us menacingly?
No, they all just open their eyes as one. It's glowing, this blue magical aura, which is kind of similar to the sort of blue mana that Duradam has between these rocks and from his runes. The first of them just like steps into the water with a soft splish.
Is he walking on top of the water, or is he sinking into it?
Sure, he's walking on top of it. It's just a slight disturbance as he steps onto it.
I'm gonna reach back and tap Salazar or tap Duradan and ask him if he knows what those are.
I can do it if I know something, you fool.
Yeah.
To do Dwarven, I mean, they're about the size of dwarfs, but their physical characteristics are quite different. The
I think,
sorry,
oh yeah, two of them might actually like call out to them and just ask like who goes there.
and as you do, the other 11 step forward and start walking in unison, closing in on the shrine.
Rise, are you almost done?
So there is 11 figures walking
12.
out of the water. 12.
You're,
Well,
you're inside that shrine. You probably can't see it when you're inside there anyway.
so I can't see anything. I can just hear Salazar speaking to me.
You can see Salazar and Dwarven directly behind you, like out back along this passageway. But you can't see the figures in the water.
Like two of them is going to like cautiously circle them to make sure he's in between them and the door.
What's happening? Have you seen something of interesting?
You might want to hurry up and finish whatever it is you're doing.
Well, I'm done. I'm just contemplating. Why? What's happening?
Come outside and see for yourself.
And well, I've seen the pictograms. I can easily make a reference that the 12 of them are actually 12 of them from the pictograms.
Yes, so there's definitely some sort of like association there. Are you leaving the gauntlet in there, or are you like nabbing it?
I'm whatever they did here, it's something stinky. So I'm gonna cautiously shout to Duridam and Salazar to leave slowly, unnoticed, out of the temple, and I'm gonna snatch the gauntlet and shift into astral form.
When you grab the gauntlet, do you wear it, or are you just grabbing it to carry it?
I just grab it. I just want to leave quickly as I can. And of course, I'm hoping that Salazar and Duridam will listen to my word.
So he yells at you guys. Are you paying heed to his orders?
Oh yeah, as soon as he tells me to run, I'm gonna run out the entrance.
Don't have to tell me twice.
I forget, could we detect him at all in astral form?
Only if he's like interacting with you, or interacting with something.
Right, if that's the case, then yeah, I'll probably not quite as quick as Salazar. Like, yeah, two of them will head towards the exit, but keep looking back to see what these figures are doing.
Sure, and they continue to like close in on him, and they're getting faster the closer in to the centre they get. Once he grabs that gauntlet and phase shifts, they start running towards him at full speed. Once you come out of the shrine in your phase shifted form, Rise, you can still see the creatures there. They don't look as liquidy. They look more like they were made of like mana energy. They're positively like a flame with blue mana energy, the 12 forms, but they still exist there when you phase shift in your phase shifted form. And they keep running towards you.
Well, sounding the alarm. To leave everything and to hit the road. Oh, but I cannot interact actually. I'm gonna shift into my physical form and then sound the alarm to drop everything and hit the road.
You say drop everything, what are you dropping?
Just a matter of speech, you know.
Okay, so yeah, you're just bolting full speed, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so give me a quick roll. This will be interesting. Yes, the figures start chanting. They're not yelling, but you're able to hear it crystal clear as if it's like right in your ear, in some sort of very guttural, twisty kind of language that you don't understand. You manage to flee the circle of them that are running after you. You evade them. You get to the exit to the temple and you leave the temple, glove in hand. And as you do, the chanting just stops.
Do I seem to be followed by them?
No, they've gone.
Well, that's a relief, but I don't want to stay here for too long. I'm
Let's-
gonna, in just a few words, I'm gonna explain to everybody that I've taken something from the shrine, and I don't think it's a good idea if we stick here for too long. Better if we just hit the road and leave the ship.
Duradam and Salazar, when you see him and he exits the temple and he turns around and he says this to you, you can clearly see this blue light, kind of like the sigils in Duradam again, but in a different form of writing. You recognise it's the same form of writing that you're seeing on pictographs and buildings here, is like written across Rise's forehead.
I think first of all, if there was a door that was behind us, I'll close that up so the things can't chase us. Or at least it'll get in the way a bit.
I don't think I defined one, but sure, yeah.
It's probably just some new magic that Rise is doing.
In a couple of 100 years I've been here, I think this is maybe the stupidest things I did. But we will see. We have to leave this place.
I think we should at least try to take the ship. It could be helpful in getting up to the mountains.
What I've taken here, like I've already said, might be very stupid. But to be honest, I don't really know what I've taken. All I know is that what I've taken is very old and very important. I must consult with somebody about this gauntlet. But I don't want to stay in this place for too long.
Do them. It's just like, does it have anything to do with that thing on your forehead? Just because no one else is mentioning it, and he holds up his axe like a mirror.
My forehead? What do you mean on my forehead? I'm touching my forehead.
He just points at his axe like to look in it.
And the thing on my forehead, do I vaguely know what's it about?
You've clearly been marked by some sort of magic. Obviously magic tied to this place. Some sort of defense thing that's been triggered.
Yes, well, maybe I'm cursed. Maybe I'll have to live with the consequences. I'm yet to find out. But this place is very old, and the basilisk probably was guarding this place. And his blood probably did something. Well, I don't know what I'm speaking about. My head hurts. But anyways, it would be wise if we're about to leave right now. Leaving the ship, we can just as easily travel like we did before.
Well, we still have to go find the others.
And the them was just like, can I check something? And like, stop his eyes for a moment.
Yes, of course.
Is that what you took? And he points to the gauntlet in your arms.
Yes, that's it. You recognize this?
He just holds out his hand and goes like, "Give it here."
You want this gauntlet? Why?
It's clearly too small for Duradim's hands, but he's just like holding it out.
Do you feel something?
I mean, are you going to give it to him, or
Oh, not without him explaining why would he want it in the first place.
I'm just saying something? Come on.
I will give it to you, of course. Just don't put it on your hand, and I don't think it would fit anyways, but not here. Not here. I just want to leave this place.
And if he gives him the gauntlet, then Duradim's just going to like couch down so he can see his forehead. Like both ways, they can each see each other's forehead. Does anything appear on Duradim's?
So you're passing it to him, Rise, yeah?
Yeah, as soon as we are further away from the entrance.
Okay,
to the-
when you pass it to him, Duradam, all the sort of magical bonds that hold your form together turn bright white, and these massive sparks just come flying everywhere, and you're filled with a searing pain. Take a pain. The glove, like, it's almost like two opposite magnets pushing away from each other. The repulsion as it pushes itself away from your form.
Then I'll obviously lose my grip on what I'm holding because it pushes away.
Yep, and it clatters to the ground.
Can I help by trying to catch it?
Of course, I'm perfectly with that.
Would that be carefully quick?
I mean, you could just catch it before it hits the ground if you want. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, Duradim just like covers a bloody, like completely unexpected. What
And
the fuck is that thing?
I think Duradam as well, this is the first time you've had things before that you kind of register as that's pain because of the sensation, the loss of mana, energy from yourself and such, or the damage to your form. But this is the first time you've actually felt pain.
Yeah, he looks extra shaken then.
Are you alright, Duridan?
He's like confusedly looking between like Vives and the gauntlet as if what Vives can explain what's happening.
Is the writing still on Rise's head?
Oh, yes. And if you catch it, the writing will just start to appear across your forehead as well. No, actually, I'm talking shit. No, it doesn't.
You still have the thing in your head, Vives. Are you feeling alright?
That's what I was about to ask you. You feel alright? It seems like it was painful for you to hold it.
The fucking sorest thing I've ever felt. Is it doing that to you the whole time? How do you put up with that?
Oh, no, I haven't felt anything. I don't know why would it hurt you. And as I look at Salazar, he's holding the gauntlet. So does he have those?
No, he doesn't. No.
So it looks like you're cursed and you can't touch it. So I'll put it in my backpack.
No, I need it for inspection. That's why I've taken it. I'm not suffering the consequences just giving it to somebody to carry it in the backpack. It's too much of a value. In the end, what would you do with it? It's not just some loot found in old place. It needs to be inspected. And I would appreciate it if you would return it to me.
Right at that moment, there's a sound of a massive explosion in the far distance to the northeast. They're like the more east, the north. Everyone feels it. And then, probably a couple of minutes later, a huge shockwave hits the mountain, everything shakes, statues fall over, the ship kind of wobbles and tips. Ricardo, you kind of like slip and fall on the floor.
Yep. Barely even finished cleaning a wing yet. One of the propellers or wings or whatever it's got for flying.
All right, I'll toss the gauntlet back to Rise, and then run towards where the explosion came from to see what it was.
Well, I mean, you can get up into the sky to try and look to the horizon to see where it came from, because it came from a long distance away.
Oh, you're right. I'll jump on Sherman and see what happened.
You can see you can't see where the source of it is because it's past the horizon, but in the horizon you can just see huge black billowing clouds rising up into the sky.
Is it from the direction that we're traveling in?
Not the direction you want to go in, no. It's from the direction where your end goal is, Karaklak. Except, not quite. But yeah, that's our general direction.
Alright, when he flies back down, he'll tell the others that it looks like something erupted in the mountains.
I don't know a single thing that would cause such an eruption.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Sorry, there you go.
Ricardo, do we know how to fly the ship, or we are going by foot? But we have to leave now. We are flying the ship, or we are going by.
Yeah, so Ricardo, while he's cleaning, I mean, you're oblivious, you don't know it's this, but Draken, since you're just like standing around and not really doing a great deal, once more, you spot, watching Ricardo from one of the shadows, a thin, feminine figure. You just a sense of grace in the way it kind of steps and moves, and it walks from one shadow to another before it disappears.
I'm afraid this will not be going anytime soon. You see those? Has it got wings or propellers? That's that airship.
It has propellers.
You see those propellers? All the fungus, the moss, they are not moving anytime soon. They need to be cleaned, gutted, removed before we can even think of taking off.
Then it's an easy decision. We are leaving now.
I have not seen an airship exactly like this, but I have been in an airship many, many a year ago. And this is not going to fly. It needs to be cleaned first.
Where is your accent going?
I have no idea. I told you I am in a lot of pain at the moment.
He's done it in French. I kind of liked it.
As with Ricardo, when he's like tired and sore, he's banged up a bit. His shoulder still hurts. He's fallen.
He says when he's tired, he falls into offensive stereotypes.
Yes. Look, we are not getting out of here on this ship that quickly. It's going to take at least a day. And that is if everyone is helping.
I'm gonna try and follow whatever shadow is stalking Ricardo. As he says, if everybody's helping, so it looks like I'm running away from helping.
I mean, by the time you get over to that shadow, the things that just like walked from one shadow to the other just disappeared. It may have been watching them for longer before you noticed it.
Right, but can I stalk it through the shadow though? So like I wouldn't be following it through this realm.
Sure, if you want real quick.
I'm getting tired of stuff being in my shadows and me not doing anything about it.
Yeah, I mean, you
Plus two
fall
is
into
9.
Shadow Realm, and this time, you know, you're running frantically, you want to keep up with it. It's like, it doesn't even look like it's making an effort to move quickly, but it's outpacing you so easily. You get to the shadow, and you step through a shadow, following after it. and you step into the most beautiful, verdant forest scene you've ever seen. The place absolutely radiates with the energy of life and nature. Animals are in the trees, running about fields, twittering. It's just absolutely beautiful and serene.
Assuming that's where I lose it, because I would totally stop and look around.
Yeah, wherever it disappeared to here, in this place, you lose sight of it.
So were they like, I don't know where I'm at? Why just be completely lost?
I mean, okay, so you kind of survey the shadow you came through to get an idea of the distance you may have travelled, because you didn't seem like you travelled a long distance. You have to like physically travel a distance in the shadow realm to cover the same distance in the material realm. So you didn't go very far, but you are clearly in a completely different terrain, which makes no sense at all. You should not have been able to get here within a short running distance. Something is very off. And then when you notice the sky, the constellation is wrong. The sun is in the wrong position.
Plants even looking different than what we would normally
Yes,
see?
there's giant mushrooms for trees. This is an area of the world you've never been to, that's for sure.
I don't see anything or anything that stands out. I'll just head back.
Yeah, I mean, I think once you start seeing this little glowing fairy creature, come down from one of the trees and move into another tree, you decide that's enough for me.
Yeah, I'm good. Time to go back.
And then you run back through the shadows the way you came and come back out where you were.
Even when we're flying up, I might get a better picture of the landscape. So I guess I'll now be very enthused about helping the queen.
So should we clean the airship or leave right away?
The airship, because even if it takes us like half a day, that saves a lot of time. Faster than this thing than go on foot, wouldn't it be?
Yeah, as long as nothing's pursuing us in this place, then we should be okay. It'd probably make more sense to check if we can actually operate this thing at all, though, before we finish cleaning it.
Yeah, I was
That
gonna,
might be a good idea. Make
Yeah.
sure someone can actually fly this thing before we waste all that time.
yeah, I was going to say they need to figure out how to operate. Obviously, it's levitating. There's no clear reason why it's levitating.
I'm gonna look for like a wheel or something.
There's definitely a wheel for steering the rudder. There's things that are common to other airships you might have seen: sails, propellers. These are things for direction. But what's actually creating it to float, levitate, what it would use to ascend and descend in altitude, that is not clear. There's not like ballasts and bags and weights and stuff like that. It's not clear how any of that operates.
I guess we should, since he's still cleaning the outside, I guess we should check the inside.
Yeah. So the thing, unlike other airships as well, is made of stone, which would make it incredibly heavy. And you're able to step inside, and you can find like an open area with stone benches. Probably like, I don't even think there'd be the remains. There's like trace remains of furnishings that have just like rotted away. Some of them might be a little more preserved. The rest of them be kind of eaten away, rotten away. There's birds and animals that have roosted in this structure. You can find like somewhere that might have been like a galley or kitchen of some description. There's like fine cutlery stored in drawers and cupboards. There's a place for a fireplace, and for a spit to be had. There's a larger dining area with a stone table. And then there's places where you could fit beds and bunks in larger rooms that would have been, quarters of some sort. But there's no engine room. There's nowhere to put in a fuel source. There's no balloon apparatus. Entirely unclear how it's actually operating.
Is there any kind of like cargo room or anything like that?
Oh yes, there'll be spaces for that kind of stuff. Yeah, freight.
But I'm guessing most of it's either rotted away or rusted and stuff.
Yeah, it's just like remains. It's very, very old. It's obviously been here for a very long time.
When he gets back to the surface, he'll ask Rise if he knows anything about what kind of magic might be making it fly.
Do I sense some kind of magic emitting from the ship?
Give me a careful roll if you want to sit there. What is going on today, man? Clearly, it's the same type of magic that is imbued in the city itself, in the stonework and such. The exact nature of it, you don't know, because it is older than you are by a large margin. This is ancient magic, and you're not quite sure, how it's manifested or wielded.
Well, clearly, I don't have a single clue how this thing operates, but it is magical, in a way. Well, ancient magic. It's very different from what we usually encounter these days. Knowing about common magic today is very different than knowing about ancient magic.
So I guess since we don't really know what it's doing, I guess I'll just go to the wheel and start turning it to see if anything happens.
Yeah, you turn the wheel, the rudder creaks and turns. You can see cranks that can be turned to start the activation for the propellers and things like that. Things that would help it change direction, shift and turn around. But because there's no propulsion, it doesn't actually move.
We have no idea how to fly this thing. It will take a while to clean it up. Lee enjoys just leaving it.
What about that? What about that glove you found? Do you think that could help us fly it?
I'm not putting that glove on just so we could fly some ship. It could be too dangerous.
What did you
Well-
take the glove for?
Well, clearly, from what I did get from the pictograms down there, it's older than any magic I've ever encountered, and I don't really know what this glove is used for, but I'm hoping to find it out. Like I said, this is not just some mere loot that you find in some old places. This is something else.
Well, there's one way you could figure out what it does.
That would be unwise without consulting with somebody who could know something about it. I'm not gonna do that, and if it means that we will have to travel by foot for a few days more, I'm fine with it. Again, it might be simpler than that. Maybe it's just a glove used to be. No. That doesn't have any sense. Well, anyways, I'm not putting that glove on.
You can see in the
put
far
it on.
distance, the spout of black clouds that's hitting the sky is like beginning to spread out slowly
Well,
across the horizon.
if we can't get it to fly, we should definitely leave now before those ashes spread too far.
Yes, I agree. And Salazar, you're quick to make your way. If you could find some shelter, some cave or something that you could use, stay overnight, it would be very good.
Two of them just lets out a rumbling sigh. Goes, I'd much rather have a ship than a gauntlet, though. And then, it touches some of the controls as it descends, just in case.
You're so on my wavelength, it's unbelievable. Yeah, Durham goes over to where the wheel is, and there's just like this big blue slate slab at an angle laid across where the wheel is. And you probably think it's like something to rest on when you're steering the wheel. And you just kind of like run your hand across it, and the sigils, the glowing runes on your hand, or the stones that make up your hand, glow softly, and sigils that you could not formerly see in the blue slate also glow the same colour.
I take it the ship hasn't done anything, though. It's just sigils glowing.
There's a... Okay, you can... I mean, you're oblivious, you probably don't even notice that you've done
Yeah,
that.
that's what I'm thinking.
You can hear... Everybody else will hear the clinking of the chains that are fastening the ship to the platforms around it, because the ship is moved upwards slightly.
As Rai sees Duridan touching the control panel, or whatever version of control panel is that, he looks shocked. Well, Duridan, you're doing something with the ship.
What? What am I doing? And he just
Grab the
looks
wheel.
down at the panel.
Well, try grabbing the wheel. Give it a try.
Is that alright? I don't imagine it's made for someone of his size, but give it a go anyway. How do I pilot this thing, Salazar?
We're not high enough up yet. Are we? Someone has to jump down and release all the chains. Unless we're supposed to pull this entire city with us.
Guess that would be something I could do pretty easily.
Sure, you want to go around unhooking the chains?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something you could do pretty easily. There's a moment, Drakan, where you think you see that succubus again, standing on the ship watching you, but when you kind of blink, she's not there.
Tired of being stalked, I'm telling you. Tired of it.
Yes, you undo the chains, and the thing continues to float where it is.
So it's not moving any higher up?
No.
I guess.
Duridan just gives the wheel a spin and then goes over to the panel.
Just repeating the same thing, run your hand across the sigils.
Yeah, he's just kind of trying to identify if any of them do anything in particular.
Sure.
When it presses in.
Yeah, you run your hand across it, and the ship starts to lower, and you start hearing the creaking scraping as the very bottom propellers of the ship hit the ground.
And there's not like one above that I can press, no.
Yeah, and then you hurriedly press the other one and you start going the opposite direction and it starts to rise.
Keep pushing whatever you're pushing.
Just
It's
as
just
that's
like
happening,
lets out a laugh and goes
Ricardo's
like,
cut.
why? Sorry.
Just as he started raising the ship, I've cut open all the vines and all the last of the propellers. Like, at least this should start moving a little quicker now.
Yeah, and the propellers start to, because it starts to rise, the propellers start to spin, just slowly at first creaking. The the dirt and the moss like falls off the edges of them. Imagine Ricardo might even feel like that he's done it because he's undid all the vines and stuff.
See, get it started by clearing up the vines off the propellers.
Do you run down to tell everyone else that you've done it?
Yep. Then we're like, oh, before we need to take off, I need to go get brandy.
Yeah, and you're like slowly ascending, and down on the platform below, Brandy's there with the cart, just like looking up at you with her hat on.
And I'm like just realizing like how am I going to get brandy on the ship? I'm like, Duran, I need your help.
Was there like a dock that we could walk off of?
There was, but you're now ascending, so you'd have to like jump down to that dock, and it's still like going upwards.
I mean, I know the down button. I can press that.
Yeah, you go down, and it kind of like stops where it is.
Can I try to help Durden steering the ship with aiding him with telekinesis?
I'm not sure how telekinesis would help him.
Well, I think to start with, we'll get like them on the ship, and then I mean, it'll maybe take some experimenting to actually get going properly. But if Salazar can handle the wheel, then I think we'd match.
Yeah, we'll attempt to fly the ship.
Has Drakan seen the gauntlet that Rise is carrying yet?
Oh, no one's mentioned it to me, so I'm assuming I haven't paid much attention to it.
Are you
If he's
hiding it,
even-
Rise, so he couldn't see it?
I know he was like hiding it, or put it away in a book bag, or what.
Yeah, it was a handing to Durden and Salazar. Then he gave it back to me, and I put it away. Yes.
So it is kind of concealed. But Drakan, you'll see, the sigils glowing on Rise's forehead now. But you have stopped the thing ascending. So you're able to get Brandy in the cart, haul them up. Dude, you're quite big, so you can like lift them and push them up onto the airship. I don't think that's a problem. And there's plenty of room on the ship for Brandy.
Well, Ricardo's now going to go clean the windows of the ship so we can actually see where we're going.
Sure. They're this beautiful, transparent, and a little more opaque blue stained glass.
They're magnificent, beautiful windows. I would have really liked to take my time, but we're in a hurry. We're in a hurry.
If it's all clear above us, I suppose.
You can't
Let's
do
just go
anything while
straight
you
up.
fly, though.
Durden, you know about that hit and miss strategy, trying things out when you don't know how it actually work out.
What of it?
Well, if you can get us high enough, now we know how to push it up and put it back down. Now, if you could get us high enough, you can try mixing different things on a panel, using hit and miss tactic. We could learn something.
Well, how much space do we have to operate here? I imagine there's enough for us to just go straight up out of the place. We
Oh
don't
yes,
need
you
to
can
do
rise
anything
straight up out of the mountain, out the top of it, no problem.
Plus, we
Oh.
are much safer up there than we are down here. So just fly up, and then we can try different things on the panel, and hopefully, in a moment or two, we can learn how to operate this thing. And you are the pilot. And Rise is stepping the shoulder of Gurden.
Are they in the bridge when they're talking about this?
Yeah.
Well, is that happening? One of the windows at the side of the bridge is starting to get cleaned and just light starting to come through it.
Yeah, so we'll just ascend straight up, I suppose,
Up
and
the
then we
start.
can try and.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, that was finished pretty much.
And once we're high enough, I'll just start turning the wheel or moving the levers and stuff, try to figure out how to get us to go forward.
Yeah, so once you get up, imagine the sails have like rotted away, so although the structure for them is there, the actual sails themselves are, holes and just shreds. But you're able to use the rudder and the wheel and turn the thing on its axis. So it's pointing the direction you're intending to go.
And I take it there's not a very obvious, up and down for acceleration.
Well, you figured up and down. It's the to go forward and stop that you haven't figured out. But you can just wave your hand over different parts of the slate. That's perfect to experiment, like Rise suggested.
Yeah, I think if there were two that looked like an up and down, I would tie them to see if they were speed up and speed down.
Yeah, I mean they're not as clearly denoted as that. It's like a language that's kind of highlighted.
Then fuck it, let's just try everything.
Oh, okay. So is it fuck it, let's try everything, or is it a little more careful and considered?
I mean, it's not both of them. It's not either of them.
Oh, so
Clearly,
what about?
I think it's more careful than more just do everything at once.
So how about 'cause clearly something about you is in tune with this here. What about if you were just kind of using your intuition and senses and letting your magic force guide you? Or would you be...
I don't think he'd really know that's what was happening.
He's not doing that. Okay.
If he had an intuition, then he could go with that. But I think he's more able to just test what's on the panels.
I mean, I think forceful
see
if
what
you're just
happens.
kind of brute forcing it, unless you're being more considerate and study, and then you'd be careful.
I think it's more careful because he's not wanting to press a button which capsizes or anything like that.
Okay, let's get a careful roll then.
Does he have an advantage because Rise is there by his side, helping him out?
Holy shit.
Doesn't matter. That's the best rule of the night. Yes, imagine, you're guiding him, you're kind of, you have a sense of magic and it kind of helps the direction you want it to go in. You figured out accelerate, decelerate, up, down, and there's another sigil which is it's kind of like power, but also force.
What's that for the cannons? And do them just looking about for the cannons.
There's no obvious weapon armaments on the thing. That's not to say there isn't.
I imagine just as they're working out more functions, he's I'm the first skyfaring dwarf, and he's an explosive laughter, even though he doesn't know if there have been other skyfaring dwarves.
Sorry, I laughed too much.
I spat out my water laughing that bit.
I love doing that.
He's so good. It's brilliant.
Yeah, so you're up there, you've got full control of it. And you just want to just head off in the direction you're going.
Should we just head to Khin Uldar.
I think unless the black clouds to the east are going to interfere with us, that's probably the best thing.
No, I mean at the rate they're spreading out, it's like a volcanic eruption. They'll spread out on the ground. It'd be very fast paced, but overall the whole sky, that's going to take a long time to spread out.
So have we levitated out the temple yet?
Oh, you've left the city. Yeah, they're out of the mountain.
Yeah, I'm going to start chapping in the window on the outside. That was still cleaning.
Oh, you're on the exterior of the window.
Yeah, I've been in the exterior
Oh, I
cleaning
thought
the
you were on
moss
the
off the
inside
windows.
cleaning it. Yeah.
No, I've been the outside cleaning the windows, the moss off the windows, so you can actually see through the windows, so we're not flying blind. That's why I tied myself to the ship.
Right. Okay. I get you now. I was wondering what you were doing. I thought you were just seeing it fall over or something. Okay. Yeah. So he's like an actual window cleaner on the exterior.
Yes, I'm chapping in the windows like before they like zoom off.
Dude, just, oh, what are you doing out there? Like, come on, get in. We're going.
While I'm doing it there, I'm just pointing to all the cleaned windows that I've been very quickly cleaning. There's still like two side ones that are still dirty, and the left side, the port side of the ship. Like, just doing hand gestures because I can't actually hear them because it's soundproof.
Well, I mean, I'm sure we could wait for 2 more windows.
Is Durden doing like hand signals like go on, finish the last two windows?
I think, yeah, he'd probably just be giving them like a nod and like a thumbs up. He's probably talking while I'm saying it. He just doesn't realise you can't hear him at all.
Okay, Ricardo will like shake his head, as he starts cleaning the last two windows, hoping the ship's not going to start moving, being a little paranoid.
Wait, so we've got like Salazar and Vives like in the helm. So where is Decan at the moment?
Is he just being paranoid and stalking through the ship?
Well, after he did the chains, where are you hanging about in ship now, Drakan?
I'm just like still just walking around and looking at everything. If there's any like dead people in here, I'll probably be moving them to one place.
No, you don't find any corpses up here.
I'm just exploring the ship.
Yeah, well, we'll wait for Ricardo then, and then I suppose we'll be off.
Okay, yeah, I mean, you're going to cut your journey time down drastically, as well as the odds of you encountering something that's going to, endanger you whatsoever. So you got plenty of time to rest, so if you've got any pain, you can recover the pain. You can recover 1 stress straight away. And if you just want to, because I mean, you can use the moss and the cutaway vines and that kind of stuff to start fire in the fireplace to keep yourselves warm at night and to cook a meal and stuff. And if you just want to do sorry, what you saying?
Since I have quick healer, if I use some bandages from supplies, can I heal a wound as well?
Yeah, sure.
There you go.
Yeah, so if you wanted to do like a fireside talk or something while you're like doing the journey, that'd be fine.
Oh yeah,
That's good.
I have some material.
Go ahead.
Well, first, I suppose we are all together, right? Even Jokan.
Yeah, I mean, at various points, you like pull the ship to a halt. You just float in midair, and you just kind of like sit down and just relax for a while and rest up and stuff.
I'm gonna look at Salazar first. Wow, Salazar. I've never seen such. When you were flying down and I saved you from hitting the ground, you didn't seem stressed out.
Oh,
I've
sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I've never seen such bravery.
I'm sure everything would have been fine either way.
What do you mean? Are you not afraid of death?
No, I'm just not afraid of the sky. And it'll just like I don't know what is the effect when he transforms into an animal? Is he just like a puff of smoke, like a? I don't know. Does anyone have any ideas what it would look like if when he transforms into a lizard?
For some reason, I like the kind of image of it being like his form just kind of like twists like a whirlwind into this tiny creature, like it converges on itself. Just because it seems very like dexterous and to do with the sky.
All right, yeah, he just says that he's not afraid of the sky and just starts folding in on himself into a small lizard with wings.
And Rise just smiles, realizing that he was not in danger at all. Well,
Charles,
it's
Charles
good
goes,
to know
"Oh,
that.
you can shift into animals. It's very impressive."
Is
No,
that your only form, or you have more forms?
Still in his lizard form, he just like does that lizard that blink where he just blinks but one eye at a time and just says, as far as he knows, this is his only one.
You know, if
Very-
you'd done that in the sky, and a smaller bird might have got you.
Seagull just swoops down and snatches him.
God, that'd be awful, wouldn't it?
And Duridan, I I know it might be something that you don't wanna hear, but from the first moment I've met you, you don't look like a dwarf. Not the one that I've seen ever, anyways. And now seeing you operating this ship, this is Duridan, this is ancient magic. And somehow you seem to be connected with it. Would it be possible for you to realize what's about it?
It's strange. I don't recognise a single one of these runes, and yet they operate just fine. Can none of you use this? He's
And
just like, gesturing the panel.
Darky, we try operating it. Does anything happen?
No, it doesn't do anything for you guys.
Yes.
But even with your like magical knowledge and abilities and stuff, you can't replicate whatever it is he's doing.
Well, Duridan, my suspicion is that you are something else, and whoever you are, whatever you are, it seems that you might be even ancient as this ship.
Down there, we didn't find a single statue like me. Of all the ones that crumbled and the few that didn't, I wasn't among them, or one like me. And also, if this was the civilization I was from, then why does that gauntlet reject me?
Well, that's what I hope we'll find out.
This is also the point where Draken first hears mention of the gauntlet.
Who are those blue guys anyway? I've heard of pointed-eared elves, but they were far too small.
Hmm. Maybe some old race that once existed, but no longer. And it looks like they were the guardians or even creators of whatever this is. That was a whole story depicted, and I still don't know how to put everything together, put all of the pieces together into something meaningful for us.
Speaking of, you spoke of how casual Salazar was, but and he just like gestures to his head. You don't seem worried about this at all. And you might think otherwise, but he's talking about the rune on Ryze's head. Are you that used to being cursed?
Well, I don't know if I'm cursed or not. Like I said, this could be a very stupid thing that I did, but it also could be something that we can use to our own advantage. I will try to consult with my brothers.
I'm just going to go to my bag of books, pull out a book on curses, and give it to Rise.
And on the cover it says, "So, you've been cursed."
The first one is So You've Been Cursed, and how to the second book I give him is How to Deal with Simple Curses.
Curses for dummies.
Oh no, I lost Curses for Dummies for a while ago.
I mean, it's the anti-curses for dummies that we want anyway.
I'm trying to cure my curse, but I would have books on curses.
I'm interested, Jacan, what your reaction is when he mentions the gauntlet, because they all clearly know what he's talking about.
I keep quiet.
Speaking of those brothers that you were looking for, guys, the ones that you're going to consult, have you contacted them since? Well, we found the one, you know, the one hanged, crucified, or whatever it was.
Yes, we rarely use the summoning call to the council. Sometimes it might not happen for ages, so we don't actually use that lightly. But I think I should consult with the brothers about one fallen brother and the gauntlet and everything that's happening. Some of them might know what's happening, and yes, I'm gonna use the moment and to summon the warden call to the citadel.
Sure. And I'm assuming you have to, like, kind of do a phase shift thing to attend that as well, yeah?
Yes, I would disappear.
Sure. Yes, he disappears from everyone's sight. You're again in this floating citadel tower. The lightning strikes all around it. And you're in the golden circle, and you're standing at your place with your sigil on it. Volkor's burnt one scratched out is there. And you wait patiently for the remaining wardens to appear. You know the elven one, Leofer, I think his name was?
Yeah, something with L. I can't remember his name.
Where'd I put the names? Where are these names? That's weird. It was in the first section, wasn't it?
No, it was second or even third one.
Was it? When you spoke to them?
Yeah, I think it's even third one. It's right before we hit the Hogstad.
You talked to him during the first session.
Hang on, I've got them here in this other one. Okay, so Arzorak, the Dwarven warden, doesn't appear. Valorak of the Nether, he does appear. He is the figure that's just like cloaked in mist and shadow and energy. Almost has a kind of wraith-like appearance. And then the woman of the Fae, Umsvela, she does appear. And this time her hair is this kind of like twisted, vine-like kind of structure to it, her hair. She looks almost like kind of like half plant. And she's covered in leaves and petals. They are the only two that appear this time. Leoric was the male figure.
Yeah. Leoric, yeah.
I mean, Umsvela, when she appears, she looks sad. Leoric has fallen, my friends.
Yes, I've been there when he passed away.
You were there when he died?
Yes, I was by his side.
How did he die?
Do you have any idea why would he try to talk to Volkor?
He and Volker were friends once, a long, long time ago.
Well, my guess is that Volkor didn't take him for a friend. He was left hanging. I suppose he was left hanging as a message because Volkor knew that I'm gonna pass this route, and there I found him on his dying breath. The exact details I don't know, but it was Volkor, I'm sure of it.
I have visited the Fae realm to talk to Leoric's spirit, and Volkor must have desecrated him before he passed, and his spirit was unable to enter the Fae realm. It has been lost to us, and with it his knowledge.
I have seen his soul going away, but I couldn't keep track of it. Where did it go away? But why is there only two of us? Where is everybody?
Valaric, it doesn't really have much of a head to move per se. It's like, I have not been able to sense or find Arzorak since our last meeting. I know he was seeking some aid, some relic that he thought could help resolve the situation in the material realm. But I have been unable to trace him.
That's as sad as I am for Leoric. We have important thing to talk about, aside from Leoric, of course. No, there is no point meandering about his death. He is away, and one by one I see this band of wardens just dying. It's like the twilight of wardens. And I don't know if... I'm not gonna give you sad stories. I want to get straight to the point. The dwarves are in danger. I'm going there for the tablet, you know already that. But I plan on fighting beside dwarves, even if that means that I'm gonna die with them. I'm gonna die with them. I've decided that. And if I can take Folkor down, I will do that as best as I can. But when the time comes, will you join me in the battle for dwarves?
Uzella raises her dagger and says, I swore an oath to this order, and I will carry it out to my last. And Valaric turns his body to face you, and he raises a sort of misty figure of where his arm and hand would be in your direction. You have been cursed.
Yes.
Goblin magic. I have not sensed such a thing in an age.
What is that? Can you read the sigils on my forehead?
I'm no expert in the arts of the material realm, but this is a curse on your destiny, on the threads of time that tie you to the paths which were open to you. Your time is limited. Rise. The goblins have seen to it that your destiny shall not be fulfilled.
And do you know anything about the gauntlet?
Completely emotionless and not showing any signs of reaction whatsoever. Valaric lets out a kind of slow release that could almost be interpreted as a sigh. Which gauntlet do you refer?
I take out the gauntlet and show it to him, explaining what I did and what I uncovered, even showing the drawings I made at the shrine, and asking him for explanation, everything that he knows about it.
This is the gauntlet of destiny. It allows the wearer to see the threads of each life and the path that they may take, the choices that may be chosen for them.
And what about the wielder of gauntlet? His destiny.
I do not believe it should affect the wearer's destiny whatsoever. It simply allows you to view and, with the right tools and knowledge, manipulate the destiny of others. Such a powerful relic, Rise. Are you sure you should be carrying it around? Perhaps you should leave it here for safekeeping.
Rise gives it a thought, but something inside of him is saying no. No. I've taken this curse on myself. I will suffer the consequences. I am Warden not for a life, but for eternity. And I will carry out my duties.
As far as your destiny allows you, at any rate.
Well, one more thing before we set the end to this council. For ages we've been hiding in the shadows, operating from the shadows. Very few people even know about us, far from the glory days. If we can stand with the dwarves one last time, at least we can. The flame of the wardens can extinguish with pride. And maybe we can change the course of this war, like we did with the first appearance of Malekith.
Imsvela agrees that, to fight and do anything they can to stop the spread of Malekith, and his influence on the different realms is of utmost importance. Valaric stays silent and doesn't commit to any course of action. But this is also not out of character for Valaric.
Anything else we should discuss, or you wanna tell me before we end this council?
Valaric just says, I believe the best course of action will reveal itself in due time. I do not believe our place is to meddle needlessly. And although the influence of the Dark Lord is troublesome to the balance of the realms, who's to say that our interference would not make the situation worse? I believe patience is the greatest virtue here.
Rise will shout at him. Those were the same words Volker spoke. What is this?
Again, he's little more in smoke and mist and shadow, a creature of the nether. You are young, Rise, and inexperienced. We have seen a great many calamities, including Malekith once before, imbalance the realms. Rushing into battle and meddling in the affairs of mortals is not always the right approach.
I might be young, but I think I have been more in this physical realm that you have been. So I know I'm speaking for people. There is no order. Malekith is no representation of order. He's the opposite of it. He's a complete chaos. And we swore this order to protect the realms.
And the realms extend and are greater than a single realm, the plane that you've become so fond of, Rise. Perhaps you're letting your emotions get in the way.
I will end this conversation. I hope you change your mind when the time comes. And I hope you're wise enough not to believe in the words you just mentioned. That who are we to? Well, let's just end it here. And before I phase out, I'm gonna put the gauntlet on and check the two of them with a completely different eyes if I have them when I put on the gauntlet.
Alright, so when you wear the gauntlet, everything's pretty much the same, except you can see these glowing white threads coming from where the heart would be in each person, including yourself. Yours is it's one thread that comes out, but you can sense and see the infinite possibilities that thread can stretch out to, the path it can take. And you can see that all of yours have been like cut. They don't extend very far from your chest. Valerax stretches out almost endlessly, it seems, throughout time, and there's a multitude of possibilities where it could go. Umsvelas has a variation. Some are short, some are long.
Okay.
So, Valak, we'll see. Are you like putting that on and then disappearing after you've had a look?
Yeah, if there is something more to see, I will stay for a moment too.
But you're not giving them time to like react and say anything.
Well, what worries me is with this guy is that having the endless destinies and possibilities, that could also mean that he has a charted path in himself leading to Malekith or Folkor. So I would make a note of that.
Yeah. I'm just trying to determine if you're giving them time to react or if you're just going to do it, see the threads, and then leave.
I would make a quick reference, yes, that I can see parts of him leading to Folkor, Malekith.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can't see it. You have to like run your finger, like run the thread between the fingers of the gauntlet, and like as you run your fingers along it, it's like a fast forward on a video player, and you can like go through the destiny to see where it goes. So you'd have to like go up and get close to him and run your fingers along his thread to see where it goes, to determine where the different paths go. But his paths are almost universally long. His destiny is not ending anytime soon. But when he sees you don the gauntlet, he's not going to make any noises, but he will say calmly to you in that wispy voice he has, "This is much power for one being to have, Rise."
Then what do you suggest doing with it?
We should keep it here and keep it safe so that others cannot abuse its power.
Well, I'm gonna run his threads to see those possibilities that he could be. He can't be trusted if
Sure. So
there are some.
yes, some of his threads you can see he does side with Malekith and Volkor. There's some where he joins them and betrays them. There's some where he stands united with you and Venezuela against them and their hordes and armies. There's a multitude of paths he could go. At this point in time, he's undecided. He hasn't chosen, so all the possibilities are open to him.
Well, as I come close to him, I look at him. If he has a pair of eyes, well, yes, this is a great power, and I can see that inside of you that you're indecisive. Maybe too much time being across the plains, you cannot sympathize with the feelings, even with the order itself. If there is an order, who are we to say? But I am completely sure that Folkor or Malekith are out of the question. I hope you will not choose that path, because you will be shorter of one thread.
He turns, and if he had a head, he'd be looking at you. Are you threatening me now, brother? There is no need for such a thing. I am loyal to my oath and to this order.
Still, you are. And
be careful not to let your emotions guide you down a dark path.
I will give my best not to. And same to you, brother.
And the mist shadow that he was just kind of like fades and disappears.
Well, I suppose I'm gonna leave then as well.
And so like gives you her goodbyes and she leaves too. So the rest of you, obviously he just disappeared. Are you using anything while he's away?
How small is the cockpit?
It's very large, very broad. You could easily fit 30, 40 people in here.
Oh, okay, so it's not small enough to start making Salazar claustrophobic, is it?
No, I mean, there's a lot of white spaces in this. But maybe if you went down to like the crew quarter rooms, they're smaller. That might affect you. I imagine being like a skyrider and stuff, you like being out in the open anyway, so you're probably like up on deck a lot of the time enjoying the cold air.
Yeah, he'll just be out and watching as we approach the mountains and looking off into the distance at the clouds.
Ricardo's just going to be fascinated watching Durden pilot the ship.
Are you just like full of admiration for him at this point?
Yeah, I'm like, this is awesome. I'm like, this is really cool. I'm going to ask him, like, show me how he does it sometimes, and obviously it doesn't work, but
I don't think Durden would have like, a very deep understanding of it. He just thought, oh, this one makes it go faster. This goes up, this goes down.
Sure. So, there you go.
no, I was just making, like, nodding head noises.
Right, sure. Yeah, like I said, it'll shorten your time. It'll still take a couple of days to get there. Because you probably as well don't want to push the limits of this thing when you don't really know. Just in case, because if you all fell out of the sky, that would be good. Rise will return. You know, the time passes differently in different realms as well, so he's probably not away too long. But eventually, you know, nighttime will come and you will, you know, bring the thing to a close and you will go to rest again. This is where you would kind of make camp.
When Rise gets back, I'm going to ask him about the gauntlet. So, this gauntlet, this is the one you found in the temple, right? Did you find out what it does?
Well, from the moment Rise came back, he's worried, absent, distant, and he has that empty look in his eyes.
Are you still wearing the gauntlet when you come back?
Yeah.
Yeah, each of them, you're going to see like threads coming out of them. Ricardo, you can see a lot of his threads merge with Duradam's threads in the near future. Duradam's threads are either very long or extremely short. Drakan's threads are a different colour. Everyone else's kind of glow white. His kind of glows purplish and dark and bruised. And you can see that his is thinner than everyone else's. And his is joined by two other threads coming in from you're not sure where, off in the distance, which seems very unusual. And Salazar's looks, you know, it could be long, it could be short, it goes different directions. There's nothing like a standout different about his.
Well, obviously, with the new power, I still don't know how to control it. It's overflow with information, and I'm troubled by it. I'm restless. I'm almost as a different person.
Yeah.
Ricardo, I think we should speak about this some other time. I don't feel quite myself at the moment.
Then rest. Rest, my good friend.
Ricardo,
Yes?
uh, we don't know each other for too long, but keep an eye on me, okay?
You are never need of any help, my friend. I will be there. That I swear as a paladin of Euphoria, the great goddess.
And as I look at Drakan, I just give him an eye. And silence.
So Rise goes off to rest, presumably in one of the quarters, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Everyone else is going to go about their business, eat, and they'll all kind of settle down at some point as well. And this is where Drakan wants to be sneaky.
This is why I be sneaky.
It's clearly a stealth roll. As he tells what you're trying to do.
But okay, so when we've all been talking about this gauntlet, really, rejected somebody else, now Vise is wearing it and he's not himself. So I'm curious. I want to know what it is. So I'm sneaking into his room. I'm gonna do it.
Yep, definitely a stealth roll.
That'd be a 9.
Okay,
We
yeah.
roll that?
Sorry?
We roll that with my background?
Yes, you can.
Oh,
What's your modifier?
stupid.
Okay, so it becomes 10. Yes, Ricardo, although he's on watch and he's looking over Rise, that oblivious just means he's the worst person to have watching over you in that regard. Rise is, I'm guessing,
Oh,
just
Ricardo probably didn't realize it was asking to look over him at this moment. So as soon as he's went into his quarters, Ricardo's just left.
You just like you walk past Drac and as Drac is walking in, and you're like, "Hey, Drac."
Not even noticed the shady look that Rise gave Drac earlier.
And Rise is obviously just that exhausted, and Dracan is just that skilled at his craft. The way he does mean stealthy. Rise doesn't notice as the gauntlet is slipped off his hand, and you now have it, Dracan.
I'm gonna put it on. I'm gonna leave his room first, just in case something happens.
Sure.
I want
So
something.
you're in the room yourself when you put it on.
Yeah. I'm gonna put it actually on my demonic hand, my left demonic hand, if that's possible.
I did say it was a right hand gauntlet at the start.
Alright, so it's on my right hand. That's fine.
Yeah, so you slip it on your hand, and straight away you see the kind of bruised, glowing thread coming from your chest. You can see that there are 2 other threads off in different directions that kind of come in very quickly and merge with yours before the whole thing like stretches off into the distance. When you
Okay,
pinch...
so I don't have.
Sorry.
I have no idea what that means, though. Unlike Vice, who had an inkling of what he was doing.
Yeah. So you can see these threads with your gauntlet. What would you like to do?
I guess when I see him coming at me, I'm just gonna like someone would like try to like wipe something away from themselves, you know?
Okay, and then when you touch it, you can see the immediate like choices and futures and paths open to you that you might do. You can see yourself running off with the gauntlet. You can see yourself handing it over and professing. You can see yourself killing various members of your party, stealing different things. You can see, past where they forgive you, past where they, evict you and toss you off the airship. There's a whole multitude of possibilities at this point because you've not committed to any kind of course of action. Yes, and that's kind of frightening. And also, as you're running along there, at the same time as you can see your kind of things that are happening, you can see Drakkar in things that she's doing, where she's watching you, where she's on the ship, where she's not on the ship, or where she's leaving the ship. And you can see another being, a dominant dark being, and this is primarily in dark underground chambers looming over a volcano that's bursting forth, flittering between the limbo realm and the material realm at will, and commanding hordes of demons of various sizes and powers. And they're all like running, these three different characters with different destinies, including yourself, are like happening simultaneously as you run along the threads. You can see what they're all doing at like individual times when different paths are taken. And because of the crisscross between the three, there's an innumerable amount of different possibilities there. And it's information overload.
Yeah, I imagine I'd be shaking at that point, not understanding really what's going on. I think I would avoid the dark underground thread at that point. That would be like something I don't want to look at right now. I would see if this is happening to anybody else. So I guess I would try to sneak around the ship and see if I see whatever this is coming out of anybody else.
Sure. You see Salazar, and you can see there's a thread coming out of him, and it splits off into many, many different paths, some of different lengths than others. Jordam's, it's as if somebody's taken a pair of scissors or shears and cut them all off at one point, where they just kind of end, but then the other half of them just seem to stretch on into the horizon. And Ricardo also. You can see Ricardo's and Duradam's kind of merged together quite a short distance from now, almost universally, but there are other paths that go off at different lengths from him. And I think Ricardo's paths, some of them have a kind of pinkish glow tinge to them, but not all of them.
I don't want to touch those. I don't want to look at those. I think I'd be afraid to touch Ricardo's just because of all the stuff he does.
The wrong kind of information overload.
Yeah, the wrong kind of information I do not want to see.
Very long adult movie.
So whose thread are you gonna touch?
I'm gonna go back to Rise because I wasn't sure I was gonna take it. I just want to see what it was about.
Yeah. And when you go back to Rise, he's got a thread coming out of him, and they're all cut short. Don't go anywhere.
I think I would examine his then because that's the only ones I see that
So
doesn't have like any option.
yeah, so he's got options and they go different paths, but they all end the same way. They all end, and it looks like someone's taken like a blue flame and just burnt the end of the thread, and that's where it stopped them all. And when you run it through, you just see, 1,000 different deaths.
See like a common when it between the days, like roughly around the same day or the same event.
They're within a similar time period. They don't last very long. Roughly around the same time that Ricardo's and Duradam seem to kind of merge. Maybe a little longer than that, or a little shorter than that, depending on which thread it is.
It's not good. I think I would just sit in his room and examine my own thread under Traverse while I just passed the night away.
Sure, and that's a little like Doctor Strange and Infinity War, looking at the billions of different possibilities and paths and outcomes.
Like, 'cause now I'm interested. I want to pick the best outcome.
Yeah, your brain's gonna melt.
Just in the morning, I'll wake up, or if I just wake up, and I'll just be like a little. My hands will just be shaking or something. Like, what the fuck did I do?
Yes, as the sunlight streams in through the windows, yeah, you're sitting there just like wide-eyed, staring a little shaky. You've seen all kinds of things and opportunities and deaths and gruesome fates that await you. And it's bewildering. You know, it's more than a mortal mind is supposed to handle. And maybe you go to one of the windows to look out, you know, across at the morning sky, maybe looking to calm yourself a little bit, enjoy the serenity of it. And as you look out, you can see the sky is dark and grey. The sunlight is muted, and you can just see the first ash falling from the clouds and landing around the window. And that's where we're going to end today.
End of the world is near.
Now I feel like we don't need to go help the dwarves. Like, we need to go to that volcano.
Okay, I'm assuming everyone's got tons of XP after all those rolls.
The failed ones?
I
Oh,
only
yeah.
I failed a grand total of 2 rolls. One of which doesn't count because it was the cleaning roll.
And what did you make? Like 3 rolls?
5.
That's not so bad.
We don't get the XP from them if we re-roll them, right?
If it's a fail, no, it's only the final result that counts. Everyone will get 1 XP for the adventure, though.
I don't think I actually failed that many either.
And then 1 XP if you fulfilled the drive. Who fulfilled the drive?
I learned about the basilisk.
Nice. Yes.
I did not let it do any of my drives. For a change.
I don't know if I accomplished greed or not. Session.
I was hoping that Rise would tell me about the gauntlet, because then I would ask him about who cursed me.
I try to think with Drac. So Greed, did you steal the gauntlet out of Greed? Or was that just like out of curiosity?
To be honest with you, but now I don't know if I'm going to keep it or not. So I guess that would determine next session.
I mean, you could also use this opportunity to change one of your drives, maybe, because you had the opportunity to steal stuff out of Greed and you chose not to. So I don't know if you're like changing,
I have
developing.
a redemption drive. I haven't touched upon yet.
That's up to you. What about you, Duradam?
I don't think so, really. Like, I feel like I've got one for learning of his origin, but it's not a conscious thing for him, and it hasn't been like definitive yet.
Say
Sure.
you found something. I would have said you would have found something this session, because Rise said that you're of ancient magic, like the ship. And that's why you could bond together. in that way. Even though you don't understand it, you're still technically getting one step closer to.
I guess it's one step closer to, but I don't know.
If you feel like a step closer is on the path, then that is going towards your drive. It doesn't always need to be conscious. I mean, you know, sometimes it just happens because you're just doing things.
Sure, I mean, it's only one experience, I didn't feel that many.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, the only thing I would say is, like, if you felt like you didn't really learn anything, you're just like learning the direction to look in.
It's like putting lots of stars on top of Duradam's back.
Mm.
And just eventually there's going to be something, but
Yeah, well, I would count it then because this is the first time I think you've really had something that leads you in that direction. What about Rise? Did you get a drive?
Oh yes, acquired magical artifact, and I learned about magic.
Okay, so you definitely got one. Okay, characters that did something awesome.
Yeah, I have the beating the basilisk by cutting his head off kind of deal. Come on now.
it
Yeah, that
didn't
was
die
awesome.
from getting beheaded though. It got like cursed by the wall.
Just take it, okay?
Yeah, Durden definitely deserves it for the fight with the basilisk.
I love, yeah, there's like 2 parts I like to do them. So I think you got that.
There's like 5 for me this session.
There's 2 main ones I can
Really-
think of that really were like actual separate things.
Like the one you said about the boat or the ship
Mm-hmm.
that I was like in sync with you, or whatever.
Yes, that was definitely one. Because I mean, I was like, when everyone else was doing
I
stuff, and
thought-
I was like, "What are you doing?" I was just imagine you accidentally trigger something because that's just such a trope.
Yeah, it felt like someone had to do it, and then it's just that when everyone was giving up, I was like, okay, it'll be now.
I mean, I was actually waiting for you to try doing something because it was going to match up.
Yeah.
I liked how Ricardo was so oblivious he fought the basilisk without looking in its eye.
Yeah. He just stabbed it because he's like, "Well, you stab it in the eye to kill it, obviously."
It's like it's a scaly creature. Where's the vulnerable spot? Is the eye. You stab it in the eye.
I think just like Vive's getting this like, fed reading device to begin with is a very cool scene.
I do like
Although-
I do like Rise doing the summon and going to cancel. I quite like those scenes. When
Like, I don't know how the council put up with him doing this.
You wonder why only like one person's showing up now.
well, there's only 3
Yeah.
of them left, so
I liked how Salazar was riding the giant eagle, although he didn't shoot the arrow into his head, but it was awesome.
Well, I only had one arm at that time.
yeah. I mean, I did like Salazar going to turn into the lizard and just glide down.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
It's like a leaf
It might
falling
be-
from a great height.
It might be something that like only comes like fashion later on, or might not even. But I think like I can like researching all the futures is a cool image as well.
Just by being haunted by all the ways he's gonna die.
Yeah. Okay. So I think everyone's getting an XP from this at some point.
I would love if Draken just accidentally bumps into Ricardo while wearing the gauntlet and touches one of his strings.
Just the wrong string, you mean? Ugh.
Or just one of the pink ones.
Wait, does that mean even after all of that, you're still gonna keep wearing it?
We ended the session before we got to the point where I was going to decide if I was going to put it back on Ars's hand or not before he woke up.
Yeah. Okay. Party overcame notable enemy task. You beat the basilisk, and you got the. You didn't have to get the gauntlet. That was something you just could have just like bypassed. But I think beating the basilisk probably counts.
Getting the airship. We did good.
And party learned something new about one of the characters or the world. I think we learned quite a lot about the world.
Yeah.
So that's another one. So yeah, that's quite a lot of XP for everyone.
And we learned that Salazar is a lizard person.
Yeah, that was an extra 5 XP for end of session stuff each. So yeah.
I didn't get a drive, so I only got 4.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, and you're resting just now, so if anyone has got the XP and they want to level up, they can.
Oh, and fireside chat. We had a fireside chat.
That was you, Duradam, and Salazar.
Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, so you 3 definitely get that. I don't think Drakan did fireside.
I didn't participate.
No,
Yeah.
I think he was
stayed
in
out.
the
My only
I was more-
involvement was handing over the book. Handing over the curse books to Rise.
Yeah,
I don't get
so
anything.
yeah, but the 3 of you get that one.
That was not a funny joke on Rise's account, giving him a book of curses.
Well, it's the fact that I'm cursed, almost like subtly admitting it that I'm cursed. And It's
Oh.
like I know how to deal with curses. Here's books on how to deal with
It's
curses.
like, oh yeah, these books really helped me out.
Oh yeah.
They help. They're pretty old, but they're still good.
Yeah, like a ancient self-help book and how to cope with being cursed.
Pretty much, yeah.
One was how to cope with being cursed, and one was how to remove minor curses.
curses and how it affects your partners.
Yeah. Oh, that I didn't give him that one. That one is a little too personal for me.
I was glad we got so much interesting stuff in this session, because originally this session was on my notes as just like question marks, flesh this out. So I was glad we managed to fill in a lot of interesting stuff in it.
Yeah, this session was really awesome. Bringing the atmosphere about how the world is coming to an end, and there's even more bad guys showing up, and yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's a good session. Great fun.
So anyone have any
That's it.
questions or anything?
Not really. I love that you were all experimenting the airship, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just cleaning it, making sure like the propellers work, the windows, so you can actually see out it.
Yeah, the practical stuff.
The practical
There was,
stuff in it. They're taking off, and I'm still like, I don't realise I'm outside the ship, even the GM. I'm outside cleaning the windows.
there was another thread of fate where like you just finished cleaning it and we didn't get it going. So it's just a very clean airship that we left behind.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there have been threads where people got left behind, where people fell off it as it was lifting, where you hadn't noticed the basilisk yet, and it came round and like turned you all to stone and killed you down.
So I got like an image where like Drakan's like checking his threads with fate and other ones like spouting out or veering off because he's interacting with them to begin with.
Definitely, yeah. They've been growing at exponential rate, man. That's what I mean. I mean, to sit there and go for it too long would just drive you mad. It's too much for your mind, man.
Just picture Rick and Morty, and I was Morty with the little stone on my head.
Yeah,
Just
I mean,
have good death.
yeah, I mean, you're also not completely human though, so there's that aspect to it as well.
So what? There's just one thread where you just hide away in the ship and just keep looking at your threads until you just fade away.
I'm sure there's one for that.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little hesitant about introducing something that's like future seeing, but then I was like, there's going to be so many futures, it's going to be bloody impossible to determine exactly what's going on. And there are certain things that, because it's a game, you kind of know you're going to get to that point anyway, so you can have them kind of preset. But then also opportunities for you doing stuff to try and change that as well. So I think it'll work out.
Want to know who's stalking me?
Cool. Okay. If that's everything, we will pick up again next week. You're here for the next one, Ricardo, and it's one after. You're not correct.
I'll be away the second weekend of November.
Yeah. So I think it's the 13th. That should
Was
be fine.
Was only one you're going to be missing, or?
Yeah, just the one. Away up north that weekend.
Yeah, that should be fine. I'll bear that in mind so you're not like centre of attention at the start of that one.
Alright,
No
I'll
problem.
catch you guys later.
I'll see you all next week.
Gaze there.
Yeah.
Yeah, see you next week.